Hello and welcome to the Hawks Nest soon show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do thank you for tuning on in today, this Wednesday. Hopefully, getting through Hump Day. Well, here's the weekend is right around the corner there, and that means Seahawks football, another Seahawks game, and we can get a little bit further away from this tough Rams win, or tough Rams loss, which was a little bit frustrating, but encouraging, kind of equal parts as you go back and forth here over the couple of days, at least from my perspective, and thinking about this one. Certainly a lot of the discussion centered around Sam Darnold and whether this should be an indicator that the Rams have his number or that in big games he is this type of stuff. And so, we're going to get into a little bit of this discussion today and kind of dive into a little bit of Sam's day a little bit and try if I can to maybe flesh out a little bit of my perspective on this one, is trying to get in the place of where people tend to, I think, with takes, want you to kind of go all of one way into a whole direction, just own into that direction, say, well, it's all this one thing or it's all this other thing. As I went back and watched the all-22 tape, I again came back out of it saying, look, there's a couple of things going on at once here in this game contributing to Sam's performance. And this is why I ultimately have a lot of confidence that what we saw here was not something that is an example of what Sam is inherently, but instead a combination of all these factors coming together like a perfect storm a little bit for this particular football game. It is the pressure rate, where Rams have 20 pressures in this game, and a lot of very quick pressures, as we're going to see on one of Sam's interceptions, because we're going to go through his picks today. And so that was a bit of a factor. Now, it wasn't wholly the factor. It's now that not say, well, that just lets Sam off the hook, because I can already hear someone in my chat saying, well, so this is the excuse you give for. No, that's a factor there. Going in and looking at the all-22, I had thought at first blush, before having a chance to really get into the film, that Seattle was, trying to throw a little bit into this, cover two defense, into a lot of zone drops, into just 7 guys to depth too often, trying to fit it into windows. Now, you can throw against 7 guys in coverage, but when those 7 guys are dropping to depth, and then you're throwing to depth instead of, let's say, throwing to short. Let's say you're doing that at the same time as you're asking tight ends and running backs, sometimes multiple on each play, to stay in and chip or stay in and help, limiting their ability to go run a route on the play. Now you're not giving Sam very many options, very many outs, very many ways for him to avoid the mistakes we saw him fall into. Now, all that being said, we're going to go through these picks, and there's going to be plenty of blame to throw at Sam. I'm going to show you a couple of other plays here too, where there's plenty of blame to throw at Sam. But I want to try to, if we can, to get to the whole picture of this last Sunday, in the hopes of that for those folks that are a little downtrodden and thinking, well, Sam just showed me and exposed himself to being the Sam I thought we were getting this offseason when we traded Geno and I was a little unsure about it, to maybe bring them a little bit back over to the other side of things, understanding that there's a lot of reason to believe that this can improve with time, and that, as I said on Sunday and still do believe, Sam can fix this stuff. This is not beyond repair. Somebody was saying in the chat in the roundtable last night, oh, Sam's seeing ghosts. And back to it was like, that was not a game of seeing ghosts. That's true pressure. 20 pressures over half your dropbacks in the game. That's not seeing ghosts. When he's getting hit in the chops as he's throwing the ball, you're not seeing ghosts. So let's make sure we use that to application of term correctly, huh? If we possibly can. We've got some good news on the side of it here today, in that Grey Zabel is going to be able to be day-to-day according to Mike. So the MRI came back good. This is all extremely encouraging news. As we all know, we don't have necessarily the greatest of answers at the left guard position if Grey does go down for a significant time this year. And so him coming back, potentially, I would not expect him to be back this week. As from my perspective, you can probably get this game against the Titans without having to have Grey go out there, and you can't help but think that at least a week would help out in the recovery process to get him back to front and right. But that was supremely encouraging news, as we were wondering if we were going to start to see tilting a little bit of this offensive line as you've lost your center. Bradford had a bit of a rough game out there in this one, to my eyes, and then now you're at left guard, so now you're starting to feel that line weaken, and that's been one of the stronger parts of the team up until this point. News has been quiet around that as far as the Hawks are concerned here through this week. We did sign Velus Jones. We got him, a guy that we'd gotten as a kind of kick returner option type. Fighting off a bit of a cold today, folks. Bear with me. And we signed Jerry Rice's son. So Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, was also added to the fold to the practice squad. And so you bring him in to give yourself a little bit more depth. I did do a fair bit of scouting with Brendan. He played with Caleb Williams out there at USC, and he is a guy that he's got a bit of his father's kind of easy gait, and then he can generate that speed without, some guys when they run, they gotta cook the arms and their legs, and they're just, you can feel their full effort into what they're doing to run. And with him, and part of the reason his dad was such a great route runner is that they can just be in this sort of smooth, easy gait and just kind of break in, break out. It's a running style that lends itself well to route running. And I did always think there at USC that he wasn't in necessarily the best of spots because he's a guy that should be kind of on time. And in Caleb, you had a guy that was off script all the time. So the pairing between those two guys wasn't always perfect. Now, he's been at the Chargers and kind of stuck behind the depth chart there after I think he went undrafted. So teams didn't have a lot of faith in his ability to develop. I didn't have a high grade on him, but I thought that he could be potentially at least a end of the roster NFL kind of wide receiver, Cody White type, if you were. And he does fit to this offense because he is a route runner and that he does have that kind of inherently into his game. So I can understand the attraction by Seattle to go and take a look at him. But the second time we brought the Rice family in here, is we, of course, had Jerry Rice in here for a very short stop at the end of his career. And so we'll see what Brendan can kind of get done. But other than that, the news is pretty quiet here. Your injuries are pretty good along the board of things. Haven't heard anything update on, when we're going to be expecting or when the team's kind of targeted on Julian Love coming back. I imagine by the Rams game especially is going to be looking for that one. But we still have Jaron Reed also on the IR, of course. And we've got Tyrese Knight concussion protocol. You're going to see today I've got the hit of the week with him. And you'll see he definitely got the money's worth for the hit of the week, but you can also see why he was concussed on the play, the poor guy. So coming down, doing his job on special teams, but just took it on the chrome. I think both guys got concussed there, the ball carrier and Tyrese on the play. Excuse me here today, folks. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle bus for yours truly here. So I'm going to have to hang in here on it. But let's start off this and go through a few of our segments here before we get to a couple of those Sam cut-ups. And we're going to kick it off with our initial segment here, which is, of course, the PFF grades of the week. And so we've got our grades here. Let me bring them up. I'm a little slow on the button here today. My bad. All right, we'll get that down there. All right, let's go to the offensive grades here and take a look. First things first, of course, again, I know a lot of people lament the PFF grades and say, I like the PFF grades. I get it. They're not an end all be all. As you will see, even after these grades and we go through these segments, we pair what we're looking at here with a lot of what we see on the tape. And I will be the first person to say, okay, that grade didn't match to what I saw on the tape here. That didn't match to what I saw on the tape here. I think by and large, the grades tend to align to what you do see on tape. And that is why I put some value to them, is that after I watch the all 22 and I go back and look at these grades, I don't find myself right and left going, they got this one completely wrong. They got that one completely wrong. There are ones they get wrong. There are some guys that they just can't figure out. There's some positions they do better than worse. But I will say that I think it gets sometimes overstated at how little of value this gets when considering all 32 NFL teams are using PFF. And yes, using the grading system within that to some degree. Not that it carries the end all weight. Not that that's what the single thing that they're going to is. But it is something that is utilized as a tool. It's more information, more data. The more data, the better. That's always the way. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker, AJ Barner doing a great job. AJ Barner is going to be my underrated hero of the week. I thought that he was just great in this game in a variety of different capacities. You don't have him just kind of running one note as a tight end and go run this out route all the time. You're just gonna go off, run the out route. That's or run an option route, a little bit like kind of a Kelsey type. Said you got him doing a variety of things. He's there in the screen game. He's chipping and then running into his route. He's holding up there sometimes as an extra offensive lineman. I'm going to show you a rep today that's going to get you so hyped, because he takes on Jared Verse one-on-one and he throws him, flips him for real. You're going to love it. So tune in for that. That's coming down the line. Barner, great game. Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas. Thank goodness we've got those guys strong and steady as they are, because the interior, of course, with that injury there, you're getting worried there. Christian Haynes on 10 snaps now, just 10 snaps here for Haynes. Not badly graded on this one from him. And consider with Haynes on that's where you're having him come out cold, and he's got to pass protect every single snap, and the Rams know you're passing it. So pretty high degree of difficulty there for Christian coming into that game. Cooper Copper, Shaheed, okay graded. Shaheed had a drop in this game, I felt like, on one where he's got to make that catch. A little bit behind him, but it's thrown behind him a bit purposefully by Sam Darnold. You got to reel that in. Got to do it. On the downside, no surprise here, Sam Darnold, as badly graded as he is, you throw 4 interceptions, you're probably going to be having a 39 grade. That's not a shocker. Zabel has not been well graded necessarily by PFF this year. Sometimes that's been unfair. Sometimes some people, I think, overstate some of the bad grades here with Zabel, as I've seen online. And it's some of it is true. You do get him on tape at times where there are a lot of whiffs, especially in the run game, or not whiffs, but it's not whiffs. It's he can get his hat initially on hat, but the block slides off of him really easily at times in the run game. And that's where you will tend to see him get a lot of issues as far as mainly at the forefront. In this game, 38.9 was his PFF grade in the run game versus 64 as a pass protector. It's just a little bit where his strength versus weaknesses in this game right now. And it's a real thing. But it doesn't mean he's not a good player. It doesn't mean he's not locking it up when it comes to pass protection when he's out there doing that. Anthony Bradford, 45.5. Yeah. What can be said about Bradford that hasn't been said? Oluwatimi, 46.8. So the interior of the offensive line, Olu filling in for Sundell in this game, you definitely went backwards. And it's a tough day at the office. Poona Ford, Kobe Turner, some of this is at the degree of difficulty of the Rams defensive line and what you're dealing with there. I don't think it was all bad, but when you have these kind of grades down there, it's going to make it a bit of a long day at the office. How did we get to 20 pressures on the day? Well, how did this occur? Well, you can kind of see shown out here in the grades just a little bit with this as well. Going over the defensive side, Derek Hall and Boye Mafe. I did not have this on my bingo card, is the 1-2 with PFF grades coming out of this game. What you will notice, though, is that they're supplying these really nice grades on the back of having their snap counts reduced down. 19 total snap counts for Derek Hall, 17 total snap counts for Boye Mafe. So they've tended to be up as high as 40 to 50 in a game, 30 even recently, I think last week, 30 for 33, 35. Now you've got them down underneath 20, while at the same point in time you have DeMarcus Lawrence taking up 40 on the other edge over there to that side of it. And then we have Uchenna taking up 30 snaps. So that's how they load balance that one just a little bit there. Some of this is that your offense was successful in moving the ball, controlling the clock, less offensive plays for the Rams. But good to see that they did the most, given just a little bit less. That's what you want with them, is you guys should be coming in there fresh, able to play on fire, able not to have to go, I got to save myself, or I might get gassed if I go too hard on these plays because I got to play 45 snaps in this game. Think about this, you played almost 1/3 of those kind of normalized snaps that they have been playing throughout this year. I think the benefit of this will really come into play for all of these guys down the line, is you should have your edges pretty fresh by the end of the season. Nick Emanwari played as many reps out there as just about any defender, save for Kobe Bryant. 48 total snaps out there, yet excellently graded. And 85.4 grade in coverage. So tested on the day. The Rams went after him on the day at times, and he held up tremendously in coverage. And how about that tackle where he gets the stop on, I think it's a third or a fourth, it's third down, where he's over and the running back gets in the flat. The running back's pretty much just got to fall forward in order to go get the first down. And he grabs him up around him and he flips him around, sends him sideways. That was tremendous. Bear with me, folks. All right. So Kobe Bryant also had a great game. Punch out, the forced fumble. He was really good across the board for the most part out there. Drake Thomas similarly has been well graded and stayed pretty well graded here for the last couple of weeks. As we go to the bottom side, Ernest Jones did not look particularly healthy to me with that leg. And Daniel Jeremiah was talking about the fact that he felt like Seattle initially had the Rams getting down on Ernest and perhaps not able where it was really impacting him was Ernest does a great job of getting off blocks at the second level. He's very adept at it. But you saw here maybe early on that he was not as able to get off those blocks that leg. And so then they would just kind of put Jones up into the A gap, stick him up over the kind of right over an offensive lineman to start things off. And that would kind of mitigate a little bit of that. But definitely was not at full health in this game. Doing his best as he could. Byron Murphy with maybe his lowest rated game here in this one. Reek Wilm was also not well loved on his one. I didn't think Reek had that bad of a game. The touchdown he gave up for a yard there with Devontae Adams. That's a tough route to pick up from Mullen's perspective because you have the guy who can run the fade route to the outside, and you've got to stay up on that and be aware of that and be ready that you've got to like get up to full speed to meet him out there into that corner on that route and how it's run. And then he's got the option route where he can shake and bake you and get back to the inside on a little slant route. And you really got the two-way go there, and it's tough. And you don't always have safety over the top help there because everything's down there compacted because you're down by the goal line. So kind of understand what happened with them there. I'm not gonna beat him up too hard for that one, but they didn't love his game with that. Not much notable here. A couple guys, some kind of middle of the roadish days. Didn't like Leonard's day. But yeah, it was kind of tough on Leonard too. And he's getting a lot more double teams as the year goes along. So yeah. Special teams, Cody Wright led the way there. Tyrese Knight had a hell of a hit here on kickoff units. I'm going to show you. You're going to love DeAnthony Bell. Good tackler. Another guy that can hit. He can light you up out there. Mike Morris has been very well graded on special teams. Got to give it tip of the cap with Mike. Is that it feels like if not, I'm remembering a play him making on special teams that he is always well graded on special teams throughout this year, which is really cool to see for a guy that's a defensive end essentially and a big one at that, getting down there and making plays. But cool to see with those guys. I don't understand ever the kickers, so make of those grades what you will there. But those are PFF scores. So some interesting stuff to take away from within that. Certainly love the tackle play out here, but we've got to get better play from the interior of the offensive line. The worst kind of pressure is not the pressure that comes off the edge. It's the pressure that comes up the middle because oftentimes the quarterback doesn't have an escape route when it's the pressure up the middle. The escape route will take them into the edge. And we've got to get a little bit of that more cleaned up. And hopefully Grey Zabel can bounce back really, really, really fast. Let's go ahead and take a look at that biggest hit of the week here with Mr. Knight and watch what he did on the kick coverage unit.
The biggest hit of the week.
Now, anybody that's watched this for the last year or so knows that Tyrese Knight is a man that lays the lumber. He is a man who has a little bit of that concrete in his padding, if you will. I mean, he can truly get after you, and he's got that, as I've said a few times too, a little bit of that extra size to him, a little bit. Just a little bit of that extra. He's bringing something there. I'm trying to see if I could find an old couple of the hits that I had of him from last year where he was getting some guys laid out a few times. It was one of the notable parts of his game. Good tackler, but also a really good hitter, and I can't find it, so the hell with that. But let's bring up the one where we got here, because this is a fun one. You got a guy who's been relegated here this year to the bench, comes out last week, has the game of his life, best game of his career so far. And now he's back to the bench after having that game. And yet doesn't pout, doesn't sulk, doesn't get in his feelings about it. Comes out here on this kick return and does the following. Boom. My goodness. So what you're going to do here is I want you to watch to the left-hand side of your screen. You've got Nehemiah Pritchett to the far left, 28. Then you got 48 to his right. So I want you to just check out and watch what Tyrese Knight does on this play. He's kind of got that same thing going on here that he did with the sacks last week, where two blockers come up and he just uses Cody White and just gets around Cody. Good job to avoid any contact. Basically just gets up to full speed and lights him up. Oh, Lord have mercy. Come on, one more time. One more time. Oh. Oh. I know it cost him a bad headache, but Tyrese, I appreciate the effort. And how do you not love a guy like this that, like I said last week, waits his opportunity, gets his opportunity last week, balls out, now has to go back to the bench this week, still coming out there playing hard. Just part of the spirit of this team that I really do love, that to a man, backups from the Drake Thomases and the Ty Akatas that have come out there, that this team's buying in from a spirit standpoint to wanting to be great. That they're not just trying to say it, they're not just trying to make it a nice quote at the press conference that they can give, but that you feel it in their kind of level and play, and their bought in spirit that you get with a guy like Tyrese Knight, with those factors at play that he is, kind of dealing with, coming on, losing his job this year a little bit, as much kind of to the injury. He had the heart situation, something going on with his knee here right around training camp that gave Drake Thomas a little bit of opening. Drake has really excelled and played really well. So it's really not even like, again, he's done anything wrong to not have that opportunity to build on what he did last year where he was so good. Just factors at play can come in NFL and be kind of brutal and tough at times in that way. But great hit there by Tyrese Knight. Great hit. All right, let's keep this rolling here and take a look at our play call of the week. Let's take a look at our play call of the week. And this is going to be a little bit of a weird one today, because my play call of the week is not one that's set up as far as a brilliant call in just the moment that catches the Rams right. There was a couple of those in this game. But what you do on the fly as a team defensively is often exposed. And so when I'm on offense and I execute an offensive play and I run up tempo now, no huddle or sugar huddle as they call it at times, that I run up and I will get up the line of scrimmage. And what the defense will do back to counter that then is they're not going to run the same play call they just ran. Let's say they'd ran a blitz. They won't do that. They'll tend to sort of drift to the safe call there. We'll go with the front four. We won't put any guys up on the line of scrimmage. We'll have the coverage dropping back, probably a cover two look, maybe a cover three, something where cover six, something where we're going to get ourselves protected here because we don't have enough time to get an intricate play call in here. Offense is trying to do something fast, so we've got to be aware of that and counter that quick to our end of this. Now, this happened this week where Sam Darnold, or Matt Stafford, is a very smart quarterback. And he understands very, very well what Seattle's going to be trying to do in this particular moment. And let me remove this. Bear with me, folks. Sorry. Not 100% today. I want to say that. Not 100%. But I don't freaking... Got a couple clips here today, so we got a few. Okay. So let's set the stage here really quickly on this. This is the hurry up situation. And Matt Stafford is a really smart quarterback in that he knows what Seattle's going to want to do to him. Specifically this. When you get into 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11 and on up, Mike McDonald is not going to do something that you'd see a lot of coaches do, which is I'm going to let my front four sit up there and I'm just going to show my hand and drop everybody into depth. And we're going to keep everything up in front of us, and then we're going to rally up and go tackle. That is a little bit of what you tend to see coaches do in those situations. We'll keep guys in front of the sticks as far as our coverage drops go, but it will be to some depth. We will protect against a deep ball because offenses are going to tend to try to take their shots there more often than not. What I really like and what I love about Mike McDonald that he embraces is what you do instead is you send the blitz. You actually send those guys. You get the free rusher. And then you don't allow those routes to even develop down to the sticks. You neutralize the sticks just by making the quarterback have his hand forced a little bit faster because he needs that extra beat of time for you to get down there and get to the first down marker. So Matt Stafford's aware of that in this moment. You've come up on 2nd down. It's no good. They're about 9-10 yards short here. And he knows coming off that play that they just had that was a success, that was a made play, completion, I believe there, short one at that Seattle's going to want to, if he lets them huddle up, bring up that simulated pressure stuff, probably bring a blitz with it. So he's thinking back to that thing I was talking about a second ago, that defenses will tend to drift into sort of the simplistic when I run up tempo offensively. So I'm going to catch Seattle in a way where I'm going to neutralize that third down call for them, where they can't go to the blitz. They can't go to the simulated pressures because we're going to up tempo. So Matt's kind of countered to Seattle here with some of that big brain veteran stuff that he's got going on. But Mike has an indicator set into the defense here. They have okay, if they're going to do this, here's what our counter is going to be to that. Because I'm sure with Mike, being he's a smart guy, he's seen Stafford in these situations, knowing that Stafford's done this to other defensive coordinators who want to do the very same thing that Mike wants to do. So Mike, being also a smart man, has these guys set up to where if he does this and he goes up tempo, when we get the 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, we're going to have this blitz call in our back. And you can see you've got your front four. So it has initially the lookings here to Stafford of that simplistic thing I was talking about that defenses will draw into when offenses go into up tempo. But then what happens here instead of Seattle going simplistic? You get the blitz and you get a throw to nowhere. Stafford is basically just tossing this away. And Stafford's telling you, you caught me off guard here. You caught me surprised here. DeMarcus Lawrence does a great job of generating pressure here, that's for sure. But Stafford, as he's dropping back, is feeling, make no mistake about it here, he's feeling that heat coming off the right side of that offensive line. He can feel DeMarcus, the block being lost here, but he could always step up around this too. He can always step around this too, as far as step up into the pocket. But he can't step up in the pocket if you have Ernest Jones and Devin Witherspoon, who are coming right behind him here. So he knows he's got to get rid of this ball, and he was not prepared for that. He thought he was going to be getting just the front four. And he wants to really go to Adams here. But Seattle's also done a good job on the back end with Derek Hall as a spot dropper in space. So if Devontae wanted to just cook off the line and run that little shake and bake slant that he put on Woolen in the game at the end, in the end zone here, you've got Derek Hall there to shut that down. But then you've got the second level defender sitting in the middle of the field, able to drift that direction too, to also take that away, being, I believe that's Imanwari there. So you've got Imanwari there kind of ready to pounce if it's on like a over route where Adams, instead of a slant, is going up to the field to like the 47, in cuts it off of Job, the corner there, to that outside. So it was a great play call as far as catching Stafford off guard. Great play call as far as making sure on the back end you've got the hot route read taken away with the blitz, and then just leaving Stafford nowhere to go at this point. But all again on the back of McDonald being smart enough to understand that Stafford's going to try to run this fast, and that in running this fast, you can't take the blitz out of your bag. You still got to give your defense the opportunity to call upon that there if they get this kind of what I like to call the check with me sort of play. Brilliant play call there, but not as much brilliant because it was called in the moment, but brilliant because you set it up over the course of the week. That's what made it so awesome. Love this play call from Seattle here. All righty, let's keep it rolling here, and let's take a look at the underrated hero of the week. There's always a guy that we kind of get lost, I feel like, a little bit in this one, and got my guy AJ Barner this week. Let's take AJ Barner. He has been coming on this season in a really, really nice way. He walked out of this game with one of his stronger efforts, 11 targets, 10 catches. Boy, do you like that efficiency from the tight end. Now, 70 yards. It wasn't a lot of trying to necessarily push it up the field to him, but he's not, as much a push the field kind of tight end in the way he goes about what he does. He is on pace to have a really good year here, is AJ. We can see here projected to go for 53 receptions on 63 targets, 520 yards, 7 touchdowns this year. He's also got 2 touchdowns rushing this year on the old barnyard tush push, which it had one of its few failure moments here this past week, which kind of sucked. But overall, it's been very effective. And Barner continues to be very effective. That is a pretty good efficiency number to be set on pace to be. You're targeted 63 times and you make 53 receptions. Very sure-handed, a guy that can be a red zone weapon. You're not asking him to do as much getting down the field stuff because you got Arroyo to do that. If you notice with Arroyo, when he's making his catches, a lot of these catches are coming down the field or with, the targets being where they're trying to really get a chunk play with him. As you can see with Barner here, a lot of what he's doing is just, I'm gonna be there to, be a bit of a security blanket there for Darnold at times. I'll be there in the middle of the field for those nice little 7-yard in-cutting routes. But I felt like in this game, this really showed off a lot of what he can do in full, where not only is he efficient in his pass catching, with it being the 10 catches on 11 targets, but it's the variety of the ways that he did it that stand out to me in this game as well. Let's see here. Let me get this removed up. Oh, man. All right. So we get a little bit of everything here from him. First, Barner, like I said, you get the catch and traffic stuff with him. Sits down in the middle of the field. There's no route. There's nothing route-wise I'm going to be looking at here with him where I'm going to say, look at what a great a route runner is. He's good. He's competent as a route runner. But someone being a tight end, just knowing how to sit down in space, get your eyes back to the quarterback, be able to take the contact catch, fall forward all the time. No matter what happens with him when you watch him after he makes a reception, he's usually always falling forward at least that extra 1.5 yards, 2 yards. So here you get him just doing some traditional stuff here. Just go right off the line of scrimmage. Nothing fancy on this one. Got this is something that he's shown a great acumen at doing, which is the chip and get into the route move. So you don't just get to go into your route here. You got to first go do the dirty work. A lot of why you were able today to see Cross and Lucas excel is that the Rams, if you notice here, will oftentimes, especially if you look to the weak side of the formation here as it's set up, being over on Barner and Abraham Lucas's side, they'll put that edge really wide like we will. And that's to really give those tackles a tough day as far as letting them get that build-up speed to get after them. So you ask your tight end to reset them inside to the tackle. You ask the tight end to essentially take that edge and condense down his space he's trying to create. Get him narrowed into the tackle is what you're ideally trying to do. Here are the defensive ends dropping into space, but first trying to get that chip, then get into the route, make the reception, and you can see they're always falling forward. Now, these receptions are going to be anything I'm trying to overstate as him doing something amazing there. But it is just that he's competent in catching the ball. He doesn't drop it. He makes the reception. He gets into his route. And it's, again, just doing variety of things, including at times even playing the fullback position. Here out for Oots. You got him in here set up in the backfield, just like a fullback. Through the hole on play action. Get off the route, attack Landman. I spoke about in my press in the post game a lot about wishing Seattle had done a better job of attacking Landman because you can see he really struggles in coverage. I mean, he's losing space here really quickly. He's a good run defender, but the next matchup you've got to attack Landman. You got to get after him here because he just allows too much easy separation on these routes. And he did this last week as well. We just weren't able, 10 catches. We did a decent job of attacking it, but I think that there's even more meat on that particular bone. So you got him as a fullback too. A little bit of that. And how about a little bit of screen action? Can you do that? Yeah, you can do some screen action. I got to show this play kind of halfway through because YouTube won't allow me to run these things past a certain amount of seconds. So sorry, I've got to start this in. But sets up. Charles Cross loses his block here out in space in front of Barner. So Barner's got to get a little bit wider than he would have gotten right upfield here. If you hit this block, you can see here, Coob's got a great play call here. And JSN's taking 2 guys over the top with him. Your receiver's got a great block here on the outside, being Rashid Shaheed. Just takes one man to kind of blow his block there, being Cross. And now he's got to take a wider approach to get upfield. If he can press this down a little bit more, he can maybe even sink in behind Oluwatimi there. Still not a bad play. Not a bad play at all. A couple more here I want to show you on this. Actually, there's one more I want to really show you here. Where is it at? I know I got that sucker somewhere here. Oh, here we go. So this is the rep I wanted to really show you guys. This is the rep you're going to like, okay? Get ready to get jacked up. I don't know too many tight ends in this sport that can handle Jared Verse one-on-one. And Seattle does ask Barner quite a bit at times in pass pro to sometimes pick up that edge and then slide the tackle inside to help out. It is a little bit of what they do. It's just part of always keeping the defense unsure about what you're going to do in protections wise and just making a long day at their office where you get those defensive linemen sometimes thinking, man, like I might pull off this great move and they're running the double to me on this particular play. Just get them always kind of aware of that a little bit. Watch this though. Watch this tremendous rep by Barner. I'm going to play it multiple times. It's on the right side of the screen. It's the best all 22 angle I could get on this one. But you talk about just controlling a rep throughout, absolutely stymieing a guy, and then just adding a little bit of that. Here's a little dollop of whipped cream on top of it. Because I'm going to throw this guy. This is a man in Jared Verse that Teron Armstead was saying he was retiring this year after playing Jared Verse because the man was so strong. And your guy just flipped him. Your guy just threw him out the club. What a rep. What an absolutely sensational rep from Jared from AJ Brown. I mean, Teron Armstead was talking about him in terms of just like ethereal terms of strength. And Barner throws him around like a little rag doll here. Hell of a rep. Hell of a rep. So you have this tight end that can be this efficient as a pass catcher, this sure-handed, can give you the barnyard. And then also you can ask him in pass protection to set up like you used to with Zach Miller back in the day. Because this is something that the Seattle Seahawks offense in the Legion of Boom era, at least while Miller was there right at the end there, had in their back pocket they could go to. As at any point in time, you could drive your tight end to Miller and he could turn into that extra tackle and he could play it like a tackle. He could pass block like a tackle. Not like a tight end that's overwhelmed or kind of the Jimmy Graham types, but a guy that literally could play like a tackle could. Match right on up. You just don't see these kind of reps against elite pass rushers like this. That is grade A from Barner. Grade A. Love that rep. That got me jacked up. I saw that. I was like, let's go, AJ. That's going to give Kubiak a lot of confidence to be able to keep going to him on that, huh? Good stuff out there. But that's my guy, AJ Barner, underrated hero of the week, doing the dirty work, doing a variety of different things within the context of this offense and doing it well and doing it on a weekly basis. If this guy was more in any kind of other different offense that didn't have this many pass catchers, this commitment to running the ball, you would see him as a guy that, probably could push for, maybe up around 1,000 yards for a season. And that's okay, though he's not. This is part of what makes a great team is having guys that have that potential of being able to do that, but you don't have to have them do that because you have so much balance across the board and what you can utilize. That's one way you don't burn guys out. That's one way you don't Shanahan guys like we see him do sometimes, where he gets a nice toy and he uses that thing up real quick, sometimes too quick in his approach with that. All right, let's keep this motoring and going here. And let's take a little look here if we can. What's going on with the competition? You got to keep your eye on the enemy. You got to do it, especially in this freaking division, which is the toughest division in football. Got to keep on see what they're doing, where they're at, where we're standing with them. And so let's take a look and let's track the NFC West and see what they got going on here. Another weekend here where we had all the NFC teams playing each other. And the Cardinals have officially ran out of steam. They are Dunsky. Cooked. Spent. No more. Ceased to be. no longer breathing the air we breathe. Yeah, Cardinals, after a couple weeks ago when we walked in that matchup with the plus differential, have fallen off the ship. They are negative 32 here over the last couple of weeks. They got rumple stomped by the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think this is a super surprise, even coming out of our game. They lost Marvin Harrison Jr. They had lost Zay Jones in our game as well. Their receiving core decimated. Their cornerback room decimated. They've got some injuries other places. Wilson, they're very fine, important inside linebacker, went down with an injury, and he was still out in this game. Brock Purdy came back for the Niners and cut up that attack. McCaffrey had a rare game this year where he's had a couple games where he's kind of been able to bust out a little bit, but he's still only averaging 3.7 yards per carry this year. It's not vintage McCaffrey and what you're seeing from him right now. And so the Niners were able to just absolutely beat the hell out of the Cardinals and run their record to 7-4 now and still put themselves in pretty good footing here as you look at the San Francisco 49ers for the potential of making a playoff run here. They have the Panthers coming up. They've got the Browns and the Titans, two very winnable games. That should have them at 9 wins right there, bare minimum. But you have the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks as the finishing mode there. So, if they get to 9, probably one more win very likely gets them into the playoffs. So if they can be one of the Colts, Bears, Seahawks, or the Panthers. So it's kind of, one of those 4 wins. They've got a pathway here that's pretty clear and apparent to getting to the playoffs. I know the Browns can be weird with that defense that can kind of shut down anybody, but where the Browns are at right now in their year and all that, I would expect this to be one where they're probably able to bring that home. This is going to be an interesting matchup this week, though, with the primetime game on Sunday night here against the Panthers at home. Panthers coming off one of their better performances of the year, and that's a team that's won more games than they've lost this year at 6-5, second place in that NFC South. In fact, only 1 game behind Tampa Bay for first place in that division. And so, we need them to take them down. Niners are still kind of just lurking back there, and that final game of the season may end up shaping up to be a very important one if it wasn't already. Of course, the Rams were able to take us down in this football game. We lost to them. Everyone knows how that story was told, and Seattle falls into second place here. Also interesting note, you might notice there that the Atlanta Falcons are at 2-7. The Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles Rams have the Falcons' first round pick. This makes me look at Atlanta and say,
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Why you gave the Rams a first round pick, I will never know, Atlanta. I will never know. But they're looking like right now they might end up with a top 5 pick at that with the Falcons. As you look at the Falcons at 3-7, Michael Penix has gone down due to another torn ACL for him. They're already at 3-7. They're going to have to play the Saints this week. The Jets, 2 winnable games there for them potentially, though we'll see. You got the Hawks, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Rams, and then the Saints again. So some winnable games there for the Falcons, albeit I will say right now it's looking like they're probably going to give them a bare minimum top 10 first round pick to the Rams. Good news being maybe this isn't going to be as strong a draft necessarily, but they could still end up with a top end receiver for like a Devontae Adams type replacement on a rookie deal, and a guy that could step right in like a Jordan Tyson, for instance. Very scary proposition there for the Rams. Not to mention Stafford retires. They've got the ammunition to go make a major trade for maybe somebody on that side of things. So, we'll have to see it. We'll see how that one goes with that. But NFC West remains tightly packed, one at the top there. Niners, I call them the zombie team, and you've got to give this Niner team a lot of credit in the respect of they have done really well within this division, top division. They're now 4-1, and they were a team that, no matter the injuries, have sustained themselves. They've got a couple guys that have returned, but you've had no Brandon Ayuk this year. You've had no Bosa for most of this year. Fred Warner's out of this lineup. You have definitely an older Trent Williams, an older Christian McCaffrey, but they're finding a way to get it done. They are finding a way, and Shanahan's probably doing some of his best coaching work out there at San Francisco. I don't like giving him props in that way, but I also have to acknowledge what the guy's doing and what he's getting done here, and it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. All right, let's keep this moving here, and let's talk a little bit about Sam Darnold's day, if we can. And again, I do not want to be, even though I say this at the top, I'll still get the comments going. So you just let him off the hook. Not letting Sam off the hook of the day he had. Bad day. Can't have that happen. He's got to clean up what caused the issues in this game. Now, the issues were aided on by the play calling, but that does not mean that he can't still have those moments where bad play call comes in, you don't make it worse. And Sam, on a couple of these play calls, made things worse. And that's where he's got to find his escape route. I think the two places that are the easy escape routes here to be had are finding his legs at times and being willing to use his legs. I go back to a play last year against the same Rams team, and it's in the first game, Thursday night game. Rams really effective in the first half, throwing the ball. Justin Jefferson going off. Rams slide the double team coverages to Justin Jefferson. You lose Christian Darrisaw, your left tackle in that game, and they're driving down on the Rams a little bit later in the game. And Sam steps up into the pocket, and he's got a receiver who's trying to kind of break late this way and take the defender with him. And Sam could just go run and take the first down and get the 6 yards. Instead, he sort of haphazardly throws the ball, and it's incomplete because he's trying to force something in there late. Because he's kind of doing that thing that a lot of these QBs will sometimes do where they just using their legs is almost like stepping on lava, you feel like at times. And to kind of bring this into keen detail, let's look at the first interception here in this game. If I can find it. So we've got a cover 2 look from the Rams. Looks pretty cover 2-like from Sam's perspective on this one. I'm going to get the 2 safeties that are going to drop to depth to each side of the field by the way they look. This is not what they necessarily do. This is what it looks like to Sam. I've got press coverage. I say it looks like pure cover 2 because you're looking like you're going to run press trail with these corners on the bottom of the screen. Maybe not as much press man, but press and trail because they've got the safety help on either side of the field over the top. So not a blitz here. You do have the one defender extra on the high side there threatening to blitz off of that edge. He essentially just ends up taking on Barner. So he just stays on Barner, chips him, stays on top. Not Barner, but Callerup. Sorry, 89 is Callerup at the top of your screen. So he gets neutralized there. Sam ends up throwing this late back across his body into the middle of the field off his back foot. And so let's go through a little bit of this first. Let's get to the bottom line first because I don't want people going, I let him off the hook. Oluwatimi here, lock in on what's happening around the line of scrimmage. He's feeling the pressure coming off Oluwatimi's guy. Zabel is going to go help out to the left side because Seattle's reading this as kind of a blitz with those 2 guys off the edge. So they're reading the corner is going to be Lucas who picks him up. Zabel's got to then pick up the edge. That's why Zabel's sliding out there. Now it changes post snap. The guy drops in coverage. Lucas transitions to picking up the edge. Zabel's left in a little bit of no man's land at first as he's like, oh, okay. They're not bringing the blitz there. Okay. So now what do I do? Okay. So we got Oluwatimi in a bit of a tough matchup, which Bradford is also aware about this potential blitz coming here. And he's going, I don't know if my center is going to be able to hold up against their defensive tackle. So I think you've got him worried, not to mention Olu is getting walked back here pretty quickly into the pocket. So you got Olu's guys right there. Now Olu does a great job of fixing this rep as it's just about to get dark because he throws his guy down. My man loses his feet. I think he kind of gets tripped there with Grey Zabel backing up too. Zabel does maybe a subtle little move to get him tripped up there. But between Zabel's trip and Olu then dirting the guy up, we can see right here, Sam, if he just holds the ball, lets that happen, doesn't throw this, lets that happen. And I don't like necessarily pausing quarterbacks with the decision making. Like he's already decided to throw this, but if he just keeps moving to his left and extends this play with his feet, then he's got the time for this to then play out a little bit more where he's anticipating pressure that's not yet quite there, number one. Number two, pocket mobility And feeling that pressure and then a couple steps to your left can buy you a lot. And he decides not to step to his left, instead falling off of his back foot. But this is, to me, a play where go use your legs. Break outside the pocket here. Because if you break to the left here and you go a couple steps outside the left here, even if a defensive player on this line now is able to break free and get on top of you, you can still throw that ball away. You can get rid of the thing and go, okay, even if there's not ability to go get the 7-8 yards on the ground, which I think there is as you look at this play. I think Darnold can go run up there and go get himself 5 or 6 yards here. But even if not that, you're now outside the tackle box, so you can throw the ball away without being penalized for intentional grounding. So this is this is the second worst of his decisions in this day as far as the interceptions. The other two have a little bit of, I think, some explanations in there. But this is one where this is something going back to even last year that I talked about with them, where you've got to use your legs, Sam. You can't play the whole game just trying everything to be thrown from the pocket. In this modern era, in this modern age, you've got to run the ball, especially when you have a team like the Rams and most defenses that aren't going to anticipate you're going to run the ball. All the much more reason you've got to use it. Not a lot, not 9 times. You don't have to become Lamar Jackson, but 3 or 4 times a game, you're probably going to need to engage that on some of these plays like this, especially in games like this where they're dropping all those guys to coverage. Because like I told you guys before, most of this game, you dealt with 4 guys coming, 7 guys dropping into coverage. 4 guys coming, 7 guys dropping into coverage. And what do we get on this? What do we get on this play? It's not cover 2 post snap, because Kitchens 28 becomes kind of a robber to the middle of the field. It basically becomes like, cover, I think 1 is what you'd call this, where you've got your single high safety to the center of the field, and then your corners are basically running man. You're running kind of man across the board, quite frankly. But this is also the part of this that I didn't like about Kubiak's perspective of this play calling is where can Sam go? Where's his out here? You can say, well, Kenneth Walker, that's a 2-yard route in front of Sam, and he's got the linebacker closing on him. You could say, well, maybe JSN, but that's safety. Look where that safety's drifting center field. He's heading for that deep field route. That's right where he's wanting to go. So this is where you sometimes didn't give your quarterback all that many outs here. You didn't give him any other places to really be able to go here with some of these routes, specifically with how much depth, long developing routes. You have a comeback route to the top side of the screen with Cup. You got the deep route there with JSN. It's one where it's not going to make that easy. But again, coming back to this, at the base of this isn't Kubiak's fault. It didn't help and contributed to this play, but you got to use your legs. You got to use your pocket mobility. You got to know when you can kind of need to slide a little bit. And this was a play where it wasn't your blind side here from Sam's perspective. It's right in front of you. You've got to feel that kind of pressure as it's mounting. All right, let's get over the second one here. Second one, this one's going to be a bit harder, or not harder to determine. Not this. Easy to determine on this one. Just thinking of the next one here. Okay, so what happens here? The Rams run a stunt. Kobe Taylor is going to go out, Rams are going to run a stunt with Fisk, and they're going to run it with Byron Young. So to the top side of the formation here, to the weak side of the formation of the offense. And what you get is Bradford takes the cheese. He's worried about Fisk, who's lined up very wide here. Fisk is almost kind of lined up like the old Michael Bennett NASCAR package, where you can see he's almost in a what I kind of call like a 4, almost like a 4-eye, where he's to the inside shoulder of Abraham Lucas. So he's pressing Bradford here in a big way, and Bradford's worried about that because Bradford's like, he's going to go get my shoulder, because you can see the edge is extra wide. So Lucas has got to go really wide. Bradford's really worried. He's got to get wide enough to get out to Fisk. Bradford oversets, overplays his hand. Young gets back inside, creates instant pressure. And as you look at this, this is Byron Young getting a running start, free start, unfettered start to get to Sam Darnold and bash. Not a lot of great decisions to be made here from the quarterback position to be able to fix or get around this. Your offensive lineman blew his block and blew it completely. This is a play where I spoke about on the post game, you got to know your moments of being able to take sacks. You got to have your times of being willing to take sacks. A sack is not always the worst result on a play. And if your lineman's going to blow his block this badly, eat it, own it, and let's move on, especially when our defense is playing as good as they're playing. That being said, Bradford leads the way on this one. But still, again, I'll come back to it and say this is why the criticism on Sam is fair from this game, to where you can't, as I say, make a bad play worse. You can't pour gasoline on top of the fire. And here you got Sam pouring that gasoline on top of the fire, throwing a stick of dynamite on top of it. And that's not going to work. But Bradford absolutely sucks sometimes with some of what he does. And it's not just where it goes bad. It's that it goes bad to his worst result of play, where it's a complete whiff. He has his whiff reps where you're just like, buddy. Just gets completely bought in. This is probably the one that has the most, I think, explanation from Sam's perspective on it. And by the way, going back to this play again, just to be consistent on what I wanted you guys to track. How many guys are coming here from the Rams' perspective? Do you see extra rushers, or do you see just 4? Do you see 7 dropping into coverage, or do you see just 6, 5? Well, let's run the count. 1, 2, 3, 4 Rams defensive linemen rushing the passer. Instantaneous pressure. 7 guys on the back end. Charbonnet left into block. I mentioned, this is again just because I want to make sure I'm backing up the point I made at the top of this, that I've said you threw into the teeth of the defense, and not Sam threw into the teeth of the defense. Your routes went into the teeth of the Rams defense this past Sunday. Look at all of those Rams in coverage. Look at all of those Seahawks wide receivers running to depth in their routes. You're not giving Sam a lot of outs here outside of this press. Doesn't excuse Sam. Sam's got to eat this. But Kubiak in a game where he's going up against light boxes and defenses that are going to drop to depth in coverage, and you know that going in, you can anticipate that going in, he can't call these kind of plays either. You've already got Charbin chipping. You're left with one short route here to Barner. And Sam doesn't have time to get down to it because Sam's not thinking hot route off the rip here, because the Rams really aren't threatening to blitz outside of Landman standing in the gap, and he don't look like he's coming. He's stepping back off the line of scrimmage post-snap. So Sam's thinking, okay, I got front 4 coming at me. I don't have to go to my hot here. So that's why he's not looking to Barner, is the read wouldn't take him to Barner. But again, on this one, 7 guys in coverage from the Rams. 3 routes going down the football field past 10 yards. Against a defense in the Rams that covers to that depth often. That's the way that they lean. Let's take a look at this one here. This pick to Arroyo. Again, we've got the Rams. Count that defensive line. How many do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys rushing. Not an extra. Not blitzing. Dropping 7 to depth. We got the pick to Arroyo. And we'll get to the Arroyo part of this, but let's get down to here real quick. When we set this up, we're again, you guys see a lot of short routes, a lot of easy routes. Walker just breaking through. Definitely could have probably fitted into Walker there. He gets hyper connected into Arroyo. Olsen talked on the telecast, and I think that this might have been a factor at play, and that Arroyo was supposed to cut this in rather than take this over the top. I think Arroyo was supposed to be not reading the leverage of 48 that's on him in coverage, but reading the safety leverage. And if the safety stays topside, you cut it in. It's maybe potentially a rookie mistake here. Nobody really knows for sure unless you know the play call. It's a strange throw otherwise, because you wouldn't think that Sam would be throwing this right into the safety that he can see is there. Sam knows he's not under, a ton of duress here as far as he's got enough time to kind of assess this and look down. He's got enough time to determine that there's not a blitz on here. Not to mention he hasn't been blitzed much in this game. He just gets hyper-focused on throwing, and I think Olsen's right, where this was probably supposed to be an in-cutting route here, and he's trying to throw this with anticipation that Arroyo's going to actually cut the thing in, and he doesn't do it. Doesn't make it all letting Sam off the hook on this. Again, coming back down to a lot of receivers running long developing routes here a little bit. Not much there short other than Walker. At least you do have Walker here as an option where you like Sam to come down to him there. But a lot of what you're doing with some of these routes in Sam too is trying to have him throw with anticipation of the break. Mike McDonald talked about this in his press conference after the game, that you don't want to take that away from Sam because that's a part of what makes Sam so good, is the throwing with anticipation. But I can't say for sure. Just it seems a strange throw otherwise here that he would make because he's looking all the way down the barrel on this one. I think he thinks like Olsen did that this was supposed to be an in-cutting route. All right, let's get to the worst one here. Let's get this one out of the way. This would definitely be my come on man moment of the week as well. This is one where just there's no excuse here. It's a tight game. You've already thrown 3 picks up until this point. It's messy. It's cluttered. There's a lot going on in this play, including you actually get a blitz from the Rams, which catches Seattle off guard, at least from Sam's perspective here. You can see Arroyo completely whiffs on his block, which is troublesome because if Arroyo hits his block, then Walker can pick up the other guy coming back around potentially. That stunt loop game of the Rams is deadly, man. That's what makes that pass rush really work for them, is that they will twist and loop. You get the looper coming in. You got a 3rd and 3 here. Sam's perspective, you got to probably just own this and let it go. He does have Walker over here, but you can see here he's got the pressure right there. It's hard to go off this pressure and then get back to Walker, who's still engaged here. A lot of people will go, well, you got Walker there, man. It's like, yeah, you kind of do, but it's also he just got away from that pressure to try to step up in the pocket. Don't want him to make this throw. Take the sack. Give Myers a chance there, even just to get another field goal attempt, or you go for it on 4th down. It's still not that far. It's a short sack, so it's still 4th and 5, 4th and 6. Certainly don't do the jump pass. The jump pass move does not work. Awful throw, awful decision. Good job getting away from the pressure here to step up in the pocket. Look how he gets past the 2 guys there, which was cool. Boy, if he cuts to his left here too, he decides to go right between him and then keep going there. If he just cut it to his left, he might have himself a nice little play there, again, to use his legs, but just eat it. A sack's not the worst thing here. They do bring the 5th man, does the Rams here, but again, it is more dropping to depth here in coverage. They go cover 2 post snap with the 2 safeties. Seattle on this play on a 3rd and 3 has 2 guys running short, 2 guys running deep, basically. Just a bad play from Darnold on this one. And certainly after 3 picks, you got to know better by this point. Like, I can't get loose with the ball here. I've been too loose with it on the day. Good job getting through the pressure, but don't make a bad play worse. A couple things I just want to show up on, a few more of these to kind of just, again, get a bit of the full meal deal here on this. And to make sure I'm being fair with Sam, or make sure I'm being fair on that we're putting the criticism in both places here. Seattle struggled in the red zone in this game. And those struggles were a couple of things. I don't know if you could backtrack them all to something specifically this or that. The play calling wasn't the greatest. You didn't run the ball the best down there. And Sam didn't play the best at times down there in what he was looking at. Here on this play, Jackson Smith at the top of the screen. Sam's going to look to him on a fade ball into the back of the end zone. Sam turns it down pretty quickly. Then he comes back and then he's a little confused by what he sees. And then he does the little pirouette move and heads out of the pocket. It really feels like some of what we've seen from Sam down the red zone at times is his ability to go to that first look here, turn it down, come right back to a Cooper Kupp, and then make that quick throw into Cooper Kupp. Instead, he's a little slow getting back around to it. It's kind of right there to still sort of be had. He's looking right down, and he's got if you look here, he's got an open pathway. And we've seen him at times throw leverage where I know Cooper's going into the linebacker, but we have seen at times with him his ability to put the ball in the back hip of the wide receiver there to give a guy like Kupp an opportunity to catch and kind of roll it into the end zone there. But here he sort of turns it down, kind of a strange play there, maybe thinking I don't want to have the turnover down in on that. Yeah, he does get around. Do like the fact that he throws this one away, doesn't try to force something to happen. It's not there, turn it down. That's fine. That's okay. So there are some snaps in here in addition to the interceptions in this game that are where you look at Sam going, okay, you got to be a bit better than that, buddy, on this one. Another one here where he's hit this play essentially to Jackson Smith in this game earlier or later on. I can't remember which one it was. I think earlier it was where Jackson's got press coverage. He essentially gets a one-on-one opportunity to take the top off the defense. And Sam, all he's got to do is just lay this thing out in front of him. It's probably going to be a 50-yard completion if he does. And instead, Sam transitions it to a back shoulder throw as though Sam's anticipating that the safety help's going to get there. But look to the safety to the low side of the field right here as Sam's making this determination. If you throw that deep, that safety's not getting there in time. He's not in position. He is too far away. Throw it deep down the sidelines, let Jackson run underneath it, and you're going to give him an opportunity there to do it. So a strange decision here on the back shoulder throw here. Sam made some good throws in this game too. Definitely wasn't all bad. And certainly he made that one throw down the sideline that was perfect that Jackson got the one-handed catch on. But I'm not sure what process took him to the back shoulder here. And certainly Jackson wasn't looking for it in the least. A couple of other little cuts I want to show that are a little bit about the play calling factoring into this too as well. Because this is, again, to me, it's the full story on this a little bit. It's not just one thing to the other. So let's take this play call. We got Seattle here with 2 tight ends, no backs, 3 wide, empty look. Okay. Again, where are they going to attack? Down the field? Okay. So we get into a place first off where, again, as I've hammered again and again, and hopefully I've made the point pretty thoroughly on this one, front 4 rush. Maybe they'll send you 5, but you're getting 4. 4 is all you're going to get. You're getting everybody else drop into coverage here. That's the way they're going to play this. That's how this is going to go. So you can see here, they're scrambling are the Rams to keep themselves on the top side of this. Look at all of those defenders back in coverage. You've got 2 guys in trying to chip that essentially almost you've eliminated from their routes at that point because you're asking them to chip. So it's not so bad to ask guys to chip, but if you ask your 2 guys to chip and you send everybody to depth and you send everybody to depth into the teeth of the coverage, it's going to be kind of hard for the quarterback to find it out there, especially if he's got no way to break the pocket. He's got to decide to kind of do something. And Sam tries to fit this ball in, but quite frankly, this is just not a great play call. This is a play call going right into where the defense is sitting. Look at all these Rams. There's 5 guys standing around Cooper Kupp here that he's got to try to fit this into. And those chippers aren't going to get out. You got your guys chipping. They're just getting out now. Look at each side. Both of your tight ends just kind of getting out now, and there's still coverage behind. So even if you throw to them, what are you going to get? A 2-yard completion? You got to work the short routes with flood zone concepts short. You got to work intermediate routes on the back of that with it. You have multiple guys kind of running through zones at times to clear guys out. Not really trying to clear anybody out here. You're running 3 guys to depth, all into separate angles at depth. So there's no real anybody being run off any coverage here. Very much something you would have seen from last year, Ryan Grubb here. And I'm not sure why there was this obsession to go deep in this game constantly. I know we've had a lot of success with that this year, but why against this particular opponent is the one that I'm not, it's not adding up to me quite. It's a little bit of a confusion for me. Look at it here. Let me grab one here where you actually had a completion, but again, I don't think this was a great play call. Rashid Shaheed down the field makes the grab. Okay, still don't think it was a great play call. So we go back to the consistent thing that I've been hammering on. How many guys you have from the Rams rushing? 4. How many got dropping back into coverage? 7. 7 guys dropping into coverage deep, yet you end up throwing into the teeth of the defense. Guys showed on the last cut. We got 4 Rams out here. Sam able to fit it in. Oh, sorry. There's a 5th guy over the top, by the way, too. So 4 on the underside, 5 here. Sam able to find a way to get it in there. I don't know if you're going to live long and free throwing balls into places like that on the football field. There is the path of least resistance, and there is the path of most resistance. Thankfully, there was a hole here to be had. Rams were giving you the openings really to the outside the hash mark, outside the numbers. It's a great throw by Sam. But I don't know if these play calls were exactly doing your offense a lot of favor on the day. Look at the other 2 receivers on the top. If Sam doesn't go here to Shaheed, where is he going to go? Where's his short? Where's his security blanket here? Where is the, oh, hell, something's happened, Sam. We got you a little drag route. We got you a little bit option in space. We got Walker pass protecting, and that's not him. There is no refuge here. There is no sanctuary here. Make the throw to Shaheed or you're effed, Sam. Because you can see that verse is right there in his face, so he ain't getting away from him. This didn't help. It is not a end all like Sam's days get covered up and that his day doesn't matter then because of this, but it doesn't help. It is a mitigating factor to the quarterback play when you're kind of taking this kind of strat to the opposition. And I think with Kubiak, he just got so locked in so much, I think, to the fact that so many defenses had chosen to put so much of the bodies up around the line of scrimmage that he was just sure that the Rams were going to do it too. They didn't do it. That wasn't what they were looking to roll with. And so hopefully we can learn our lessons on this one in the next game we play them. I'm going to be completely shocked if we run out that same kind of great game strategy once again. And you put on top of this the fact that, to me, you could have run the ball a lot more consistently in this game too, especially early on in that third quarter. And it's a little confounding, some of the play calling. Doesn't let Sam fully off the hook. Certainly had his worst game as a Seattle Seahawk. That's not going to work. That's not going to work against the Rams. That's not going to work in the playoffs. That's not going to work if we want to become a contender. He has got to understand this is a defensively driven team and that he doesn't have to play necessarily like a pure game manager, but he's got to understand there's going to be certain games where you got to play like a game manager. Or maybe you don't have your A game. You don't have your 98-mile-an-hour fastball that you can spot on the edges. You're going to have to search your way through a little bit on a particular game like that. And with it, you have the defense, you have the special teams, you have the smart coaching minds out there here to get it done on both sides of the ball then to work around that when that happens. Don't make something bad worse, Sam. Try to find some alleviation. Alleviation. All right, let's get over to you guys here in the chat. Let me think if I can here though. First things first. Let's sponsor. Let's thank the sponsor of the show here. Sponsor of this show is going to be Sleeper, of course. So bring up my picks here for the week. I can get them to come up. There we go. Boom. I want to throw a big shout out here to Sleeper. Sleeper has been sponsoring us, of course, throughout the course of this year. And this is my favorite of the sports apps. I've tried them all, given them all a little bit of a shot. What I really like about Sleeper is they've got more picks to me than what you tend to get on some of these others. Of course, I'm an over-under guy when it comes to these selections and trying to put together my ticket, if you were. I like to go that route, but you can get into a daily fantasy. You can get into weekly fantasy. You can put a ticket together between both basketball and football going on at the very same time right now, which is pretty cool. I, for this week, have been looking at Sam Darnold with more than a touchdown and a half. He's going to look for a little bit of a get-right game, I think. Kenneth Walker, Mike McDonald said he's going to get some more. He's earned some more opportunities. think he goes off this week. AJ Barner over 25.5 yards after his 10-catch affair. I think that continues. And we'll go with Tony Pollard getting over 10.5 yards receiving because Cam will be running around Cam Ward a couple times in this game, and he'll just sort of throw it out there to his running back and let him go get some yards. You can go get matched right now up to 100% of $100 of your first deposit when you use my code on Sleeper, NEST, N-E-S-T. They will put $100 into your wallet from me to you through the app, and you show some love to the channel at the same time. We call it a win-win-win. But as well, if you just create a login there on Sleeper, they'll give you a free $20 no deposit needed. Just create a login, $20 into your account. Don't have to use a code. So up to $120 from me to you through the Sleeper app. Please do utilize it today. Terms and conditions do apply. Please see their site for details, but you can use it now. I know that there's been some restrictions in the state of Washington. You can use it right now in full. The app is good to go as far as I've been told. So you don't have to get into a casino to use it. You can just use it free and clear and use my code. Go win some money today. Think you got football knowledge? You think you got sports knowledge? Put that knowledge to use. Go make some money off the back of it. And a big thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring the show throughout the course of this year. All right, let's see where our people are at here. Bear with me 1 sec. I'll be right back here. We'll get back to strike. I see we got a dono from here. Give me just 2 seconds. All right, Strike coming in with a $2 donation. Thank you for that, Strike. Says, I'll be at the Tennessee game. Can't wait. Feel better, B. Well, thank you for that, Strike. I appreciate the donation. And yeah, I'm not like awful shape, but I've just had this cold, little like annoying cold that I just can't quite kick away. It's just sort of right there like a pebble in the shoe kind of thing there, Strike. But that's good to hear. I'm going to be interested to see how the Hawk turnout will be in Tennessee. I don't know if there's a lot of Seattleites there or Seahawks fans that are in that local area, but it would be pretty cool if we could kind of look out and see some of that Seahawks blue out there in the stadium rocking and rolling. But hopefully it'll be a good game. And you got to feel like, man, Strike, the team's going to be motivated as hell to get out there and put that Rams loss away and get right back on firm footing here, back in the win column. Thank you, though, Strike. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys putting up with me on the a little under the weather. We'll get right. O'Dwyer, thank you for the $10 donation. O'Dwyer says, thanks for the show tonight, Brandon. Hope you feel better soon. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. That's very, very, very kind of you. And we'll get back up on our feet. It ain't too bad. It's just one of those little just sniffle, just kind of constant sniffle thing where you just can't get it to just stop it. But appreciate you, man. And my pleasure. My pleasure. We've been having a great run here on the channel with just all the support, but all the ton of watch views up as big as ever this year. Subs going through the roof, new subs coming aboard. O'Dwyer, we're rolling, man. We're rolling. But I appreciate you, man. Hope you're doing well out there. Cal Jewel in the house. Good to see you, Cal. Hey, Cal. Thank you for the donos. Hope you're doing well too. Daniel Bailey, thank you for the $2 donation. Did you see JSN was open on that first interception? I don't know if it's necessarily would be my opinion that he was open, but someone may see it that way. Let's bring it back up here real quick. So to my estimation here, Daniel, the key guy to watch on this is going to be the single high safety. So the routes, I don't think it's going skinny here to the, it's kind of hard to tell for this for sure. Let me go to something that shows a full, maybe. Yeah, see, I think that safety there is crawling to the top side, in my opinion. I can't say for sure with the angle on this that Sam couldn't have fitted in there and put it way out in front. Is there separation from Jackson here? There is, but you can see that the safety's got his hips flipped in Jackson's direction. He's looking right at Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's all of his concentration there. So I don't know if that's necessarily him open. There is some space that the safety's got to travel to get over to Jackson. And if you throw this sort of skinny to the sideline, maybe Sam would be able to be able to fit that in there. But some of this is also the timing of this, which is that Sam's feeling like the pressure's right on top of him here. He's thinking Olu's losing this block. So is he in a position to launch this ball down the field to Jackson, set his feet? Because if you're going to throw this ball, he's got to set his feet. And right now he's being backed up in the pocket a little bit. So it's kind of a combination, I'd say, of those two things for me, where I think the safety is going to get there, number one. But I think also, number two, the timing of this route and when Jackson breaks open, even if he's trying to throw this here, you can see with Sam's body language, he's backing up. Like Olu's back foot, look, that back left foot is right next to Sam. Sam can feel the defensive lineman breathing on him. I think that would be my outlook on this, is that I think you needed a little better pass protection for that chance to happen. But even then, that safety is just right there. He's heading in that direction. But like I say too, Daniel might be onto something where you might be onto something there where they could throw that skinny, and that safety wouldn't have that. He'd have to travel too far to get all the way over there. And I will say that that's where, if I look into the next game where if you want to go to these deep shots at times, there is maybe some of those moments on tape here with this in this game. It's how you got the one-hander to Jackson Smith, or the play I was just showing there on the play call where Sam threw the back shoulder, and if he threw it out in front, maybe you just need to commit to throwing 4 true 9 routes in the game, because a lot of times the Rams are getting funky with that safety, and they're showing you the cover 2 high look, and then they're drifting into sort of the cover 3, cover 1 look post snap. So they're sort of asking a single safety to have to cover all of that back end. They're showing you the cover 2 look, but then they're sliding on the Rams post snap, where one safety goes high and the other safety is going to buzz underneath and take away the middle of the route, middle of the field stuff. So then they're asking that single high safety to cover all of that back end, kind of like Earl Thomas back in the day. And their safety is good back there, but it's not that good. So to your point with this, Daniel, and as we push this forward strat wise, how you can go back at this later down is we'll go ahead and we'll attack with those 9 routes, because we know Jackson can beat his guy. We know the safety is not going to get there in time. He may be over the top. He may be trying to look like he's being protective back there and able to clean everything up, but not everybody's Earl. Not everybody's going to have that ability to play center field like that and cover end to end, or as Earl did, essentially play cover 2 like a single defender, and how Earl could do it. But thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the donation. Let's see where our people are at on the comments. If you got a question or something you want me to respond to, just please do say Brando, Hawks Nest B. We always have a lot of chat going on, and we always have a lot of interdiscussion in the chat. So just a way for me to be able to pick through what's going on. Brian says, so many casual fans jumping directly to he's seeing ghosts commentary. It really is. And I try to be real patient with some of this stuff. And I certainly want to be patient with stuff that I might not agree with, because I can certainly get it wrong. And people that look at the Sam situation and that I disagree with on this stuff may end up seeing it right. You never know until this is all played out to really true. I think we've gotten much more evidence of it going the other way, but it is one that I just don't understand why everything's got to be sometimes so lazy, with sometimes the criticisms out there that get lobbed around. And boy, when a narrative sticks around your neck, man, Brian, it'll stay, won't it? You cannot get rid of it as a quarterback in this sport, no matter what. And one thing is for sure, is Sam was not seeing ghosts this past Sunday. Was he making bad decisions? Yes. Is this loss on those 4 interceptions? Yeah. Does he got to do better? You better believe he does. But was he seeing ghosts? No. That was not the pathway of what was happening. Gadless asks, why are we designing deep shot into cover 2 with no safety valve or safe option? This is what I don't know. And that's why I wanted to kind of show you guys these plays today. Show you I'm not just cherry picking this or cherry picking that. This is what you were dealing with the Rams by and large. I can bring up the NFL stats and show it to you with that too of how much they blitzed, how much they stacked the box on us, how much they went light box with us. We went into, I know I use this word a lot, counterintuitive. What's the intuitive way to attack a defense? Let's go that way. No, let's not do that. Let's do the counterintuitive way of doing it. And there was a lot of that at play this past Sunday. And I think it was Kubiak just in anticipation of him getting the one size fits all approach of these defenses recently. And he's like, well, if it's working, why stop? But that's not what good coaching is. You don't just sit there and go, the hot hand fallacy this will just keep continuing because you got to anticipate when you're going to get an opponent that's going to run measurably different than what you've dealt with up until that point. And Kubiak did not do that this week, in my opinion. All right, quarterbacks always get too much credit and too much blame. Agree. Yeah. And yeah, Seth, this is the part where that's that completely fair part where it's not to be overstated to where it throws Darnold's day away and says there's no culpability here. And I think that's in fact, and that's why I want to make sure I lead with that before we get into the nuanced place of play calling options, what's going on in the play, what's the defense doing. But it's also not to let him off of it because you can go through these plays and you can find a better decision for him to make in these moments in addition to that. And he's got to do better than that because you're right. There's going to be those days where that stuff is not going to be situated correctly in front of him. It's not always going to be perfect for you. And I think that's the valid part of this on that other side of it where, yeah, it's got to be better. Vince, the Rams fans have been insufferable this week. Yeah, it was a rough go on the round table last night a little bit. I knew it going in I knew what I was in for. Anybody in the round table last night? How'd that go? It was yeah. There's a lot of what did Ben say? A lot of gloating. Ben says there are Ram fans that are real with it and say they don't want to play us again. Then there are those that feel they beat us by 40 points instead of 2. So it's effing annoying, man. I look forward to that next matchup. I'll say that. Patrick says, nah, just a few Rams fans. Most were very impressed Seahawks team and are worried about week 16. There was some of that too. That's certainly, I think, where Jake's had a little bit with it. I think a lot of ways we were the better team this past week, and it definitely showed the hallmarks of being able to take this Rams team down back at home in a couple of weeks. TheSeahawksNest, it's being reported Jonathan Hankins will not be back this year, so are we still paying him? I thought it was a 1-year deal. I'm not sure how that will work, Phoebe. I'm not sure if he doesn't come back off injury, if you don't get that money back in hand. You weren't paying him a lot of money, but I don't know how that will work on that. I would hope they did not just pay him this whole year for him to just not come back just for the hell of it. That would have been stupid. Ben says the round table was a cesspool of Rams gloat and it was gross. Patrick says, well, the intelligent ones. Martin, I had concerns about Kubiak after the 49ers game, and that has been reinforced by the play calling the Rams game. Why move away from Barner? That was working. Why not stick with more run plays? I have the same confusion, in my opinion, and I have some of the same worries with Kubiak. I think that he sometimes has a draw to feel like he has to go divergent and do all these different things, and that sometimes he can just stick with this is working, this is working, this is working, force them to take away this thing that is working. And sometimes he will not make the team be forced to take away what's working. He'll just kind of leave it optionally wise. And I don't know why he does that. You've got to go after a guy like Landman. The guy is a hammer in the run game. He had another punch out of Barner in coverage. He's got that in his bag too. But the guy's got susceptibility in coverage, and you can create easy separation on him. And he's a bit of the reason the Rams want to drop so many guys in coverage, so that he has less of a zone that he has to control because he's not going to control it very well. So I don't know. The running the ball is another one where, to me, you were effective with it. I come back to that start of that second half drive, Martin, and I don't know what Kubiak is thinking. You have that last drive at the end of the first half. You're moving the ball up the field and on the back of running the ball at that, because you're trying to drain all the clock away and not give them a possession at the end of half, but you're also moving the ball, running the ball. And the Rams are running a light box, so it makes sense why you're having success in running the ball. We come back to that first play of that half. What do we do? Pass it. And it's not that that's so bad, but then it's that then that the Rams know you're going to load up to then run the ball on second down, which is exactly what you did. And they saw it coming from a mile away. And now you're back to passing, and now you're punting on a 3 and out. And it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Johnson's still not working for me. The sleeper app in Washington State, not working at all. I was told at least there was some of it that you were supposed to be able to utilize. Sean, that's unfortunate. I'll reach out and ask them if they're sure on that one, because they've told me, and I've been assured a few times, and no, it's definitely working. Brian says, Sean, Washington State hasn't figured out a taxi yet. Oh my goodness. Come on, Washington. Come on. Brian, thank you for reminding me of this. Please hit the like button if you can for me today, folks. It does help out this channel. Gets me showing up on the old algo. Gal says turnovers are turnovers, but nuance is needed to understand the situation at hand and why it's superficial to slam Darnold and nobody else. Exactly. Football is always complicated. There's usually a variety of things that go into every play. Quarterback position is the most complicated position to play. So that means there's more things that go into what's going on in that position beyond just the individual and his performance. But it is one where this is how it gets caught up in fans' minds. I always reference it, Catalyst, to the fans sort of equating a quarterback to a shooting guard in basketball, and you throw it over to the shooting guard in the wing, and then you just have him out there cooking. Step back, and it's like, it don't work that way in the NFL. There is no ISO ball over on the edge, and you're just going to let him go cook. Yeah. Addis has also got a cold right now. I'm sorry, man. You're going through it too, bro. It's this change of season thing, man. Change of season thing always gets me. Alberto, while I can't speak for every Rams fan, all I can say is this Rams fan is practical and respectful to our NFC West opponents. Even 49er fans, though, it's very difficult at times. And Alberto, I'm bitching and moaning a little bit, but it was to completely look. Rams fans had every right to celebrate what they saw from that game. They had every right to rub my nose in the Sam thing, as I got rubbed my nose in. And I will maintain, as I did last night on the show with this, Alberto, and you're, again, epitomizing that even with this post, that the Rams fans have been, to a man and woman, really respectful coming in our chat and really cool coming in our chat. So definitely we're perturbed by this loss and all of that, but that doesn't change how cool those folks have been. And even last night, it was all in good fun. Nobody was being, mean-spirited about it. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to pro. Patrick, I was at the brown table. A lot of banter, but fun as always. Ginger Jig said good things about the Seahawks as well as others. Oh, man, he was. It was awesome. It was a fun time last night. I was worried going in. I'm like, I'm going to hammer this. It's going to be an hour and a half of getting hammered. But it was all right. It was all right. Seth, I think you bring up a good point. So nobody on this chat wants to only slam. My only point is most interceptions by any quarterback have other people to blame, but at the end of the day, the quarterback pulls the trigger and it's his interception. No, true point. True point. I wouldn't push back against any of that. Maybe said I'm surprised the Eagles keep winning. They're a ticking time bomb. They got an easy schedule down the home stretch, man. I think they got the bye week on lock right now. Dogzilla says, dumb question here, but on a laptop, how do you put the fancy emoticons in the chat? I'm not too sure on that, Dogzilla. I think it might be on if you're a member, I think you should have if you look under your emojis, you should have the emoticons into your emojis when you type on the deal. But I'm not too sure on how it actually shows on that. Martin says, not absolving Sam Darnold of blame, but it's also important to have context around how they come about. I still believe that DPI should have been called on the interception. There's a clear pull on Krupp's jersey. Yes, on the first interception, there is definitely a pull on Cup's jersey. They seem to be, for the most part, letting those guys kind of go loose and free out there. But that's part of why he's not back to the ball, to be able to, at the very least, meet the defender there. And maybe it's an incomplete as a worst case scenario in that situation. And that's, I think, where we all want to land on this, where it ain't absolving Sam of blame. He's got to do better. He is not going to be able to go into a playoff game and have something like this happen now again, from my perspective, and say, well, the OC. You've had a game like this, learn from it. And that means that you don't replicate the same mistakes that you made within this game, because there's some consistency to how they made them. All backtracking to, you did too much superhero stuff, too much extending yourself beyond just what you could control. And you've got to play within that box a little bit at times, as much as anything, because you have such a great team, as much as anything, because you have a defense that isn't going to require your offense to have to go up and down the football field constantly to win football games. You got to read that a little bit. And Matt Stafford read it. That's part of why the Rams and some Seahawks fans, I think, kind of lost this a little bit on that. I mentioned it last night. Why the Rams offense wasn't more successful, why the Rams offense didn't do more in that second half, is part of the understanding, along playing with the lead, that Sam's turning it over. All we got to do is not turn it over here. All we got to do is avoid the mistake here, and we'll be just fine. Alberto says, great roundtable last night. Definitely enjoyed it. Had a feeling Jesse would bring up Sam Darnold's past, and once again, feel bad for Mike. He definitely has checked out for this season. Yeah, can't blame Mike. Mike's going through it, man. That's for sure, and he's doing his best. It looks like they're having to hit a reset button, which makes these kind of seasons tough too, because they're bad seasons. And you're like, oh man, we're going back to square one again too. Robbie Red, can't wait to have Julian Love back. Me either, man. That will be nice. Kata's done well for us, but that will be nice. What's the prognosis on Zabel's knee? I heard it's day-to-day, but it's sprained. Yeah, I mean, it's probably the MCL variety, Robbie Red. And that's one where, it depends on the position you play, how fast you can come back. So if you have an MCL and you're a receiver, it's kind of hard to come back after just a week, 2 weeks, because of the fact you got to cut and change direction. Offensive linemen, do a lot of this, or a lot of forward. So you can kind of get around that knee a little bit with that, to where they can come back faster. This is all a guess. They haven't given us the exact prognosis of what's going on with it. But when they say it's day to day with that, that's usually what I take it to be, is that probably some slight little itty bitty micro tear there in the old MCL, and they'll put a big brace on it and trot him out there probably within a couple weeks. Ninjutsu Trigger says, every time I've gone to SoFi, the Seahawks lose, so I'm banning myself from SoFi. Phoebe says, HawksNest, do you agree with the Commanders? Is he? You might have to add on what you mean by that. I'm not sure what you mean. Commander Dissy says, the most frustrating part of the game for me was watching the Rams strategically hold JSN on the final drive, trading seconds on the clock for yards. One of them didn't get called at all. Definitely holding in the secondary wasn't being called in this game. I will say they were pretty consistent in not calling it for the most part throughout the game, and that it just felt like they were going to let these guys play a little bit. But to your point, Seth, the Rams were probably using that a little bit extra, probably recognizing that early on, and then leaning on that throughout the game. Yeah, says, yeah, that's fair. It would have been a tight fit and pressure was in Sam's face. I wonder if he would have rolled right instead of back, he would have been a better chance to make the throw. Might have. He definitely wasn't sure about which route to go. I mean, and not to your bottom line, Daniel, whether he goes to the right or left there, I think he can buy himself some more time to make a decision on what he does, then be hey, let's go let it rip down to JSN, or just, use my legs, or throw it away. Being willing to extend plays in that way with your legs, just a subtle couple steps to your left. You don't have to necessarily go run, but just buy yourself that little bit of time. Michael Bicknell, hey, Brandon, I can put up with this type of criticism of Darnold. I can't put up with the ghost trash quarterback talk. Thanks for all you do, B. Well, thank you, Michael. And I can't either, man. I don't like it, especially because he's standing tough in the pocket. You don't get a situation like, let's say, let's see, was it? Let's go with this one here. I mean, if Sam's seeing ghosts, he doesn't throw this ball in the first place. If he's seeing ghosts, he's just going to crumple back and fall into a heap and let Byron Young fall on top of him. He doesn't step into the throw and get smacked in the chops. That's toughness. That's emblematic of what we've seen from Sam Darnold throughout this year. That's who he's been. How many throws has he made? Throws for touchdowns. The Torrey Horton crosser in the Steelers game, for instance, where he's getting hit right in the face, but he's got to wait for the crosser to get across the field and then throw it. But he's got to wait. He's got to take that hit. He's got to wait for Horton on a long developing route to get across the football field to throw the ball. Yet throws it, takes the hit, touchdown. How many of those have we seen from him? A throw into Jackson Smith against the Cardinals on the road a couple weeks ago. Jackson on a post route. Has to put it right in between Jackson on the corner and the safety. Hit again, right in the face. Stands in there, makes the throw. If he's seeing ghosts, he's not making these kind of throws. You know. Hey, the Robins, there was clearly a ref problem this game. It's a little uneven. Says instead of a minute or two, the NFL should reset the clock on defensive holding or PI. I'd be okay with that, especially end of the game. If they're I hadn't thought about teams kind of using that to their advantage like that, where it's sort of a cost of doing business to the end of the game where, okay, we hold and we get a 5-yard penalty, but we've taken off 7 seconds off the clock, especially in a game where there's only 50 seconds left and the team's got one timeout. I hadn't thought a lot about this, but there may be something to this. Gino wearing a trash costume was gold. Cal says there is a general lack of nuance and multifacets understanding within NFL fans, including 12s. It can be out there, yeah. I've definitely faced it quite a bit myself, and I sort of now can kind of catch it when I get someone that I'm getting into a bit of a debate with that'll we'll get into this mode of it where you start to just understand if you can just you kind of pull it away, and are they being simplistic in their outlook on something? Doesn't have to be a quarterback, doesn't have to be the team, doesn't have to be a coach, general manager. They're trying to draw to some sort of simple, John Schneider is a crappy GM because he doesn't deal with the offensive line. If they'll say things like that and you go, okay, that's where I've learned to catch it. And it sort of takes all the emotionality for me of it in a debate with someone like this. Cause I'm like, oh, they're seeking to find the simple answer, not the true answer, not trying to get to the bottom line of things. They just want the easy answer that can make it simple for them so they can kind of just put it in the box, stow it away in their mind, and then they don't have to think about it anymore. And it took me kind of years of realizing that and how it existed. I knew it existed, Catalyst, but sort of the modeling of why it existed and how it existed and what was driving it to exist. And then I got that. I went, okay, now I understand. And it's made a little bit easier in kind of the discourse, I think, once you kind of figure that part out. But definitely where we try to ascend, or not ascend, but try to go beyond that if we can here. Patrick, I'd heard I had a sprained knee out 2 to 3 weeks, depends on severity. Do they still use Demerol for pain? I'm sure they'll give him a little something, Patrick. That's for sure. And yeah, that can be right. Remember with Cam in the second Super Bowl, he had the MCL torn the day before the game or 2 days before the game. And he was out there at least able to go play the whole game from a safety position. So it is one that guys can fight through. Russell played through a torn MCL at one point. Got a couple donations here. Let me get caught up here. Roger Morales coming in with a big old $20 donation. Roger. Very, very, very kind of you, Roger. Thank you so much for that, my man. It's good to see you in the house. Says, what's up, Brandon? My wife said I had to say sorry to you since you're her favorite from the round table. I do believe the Rams are just that team that gives Darnold problems because that's just what I've seen personally. Well, thank your wife for that. Tell her I said hi and that I appreciate it. And I appreciate it as well being her favorite. That's awesome. And thank you for the $20 donation. You're very kind for that. Very, very kind for that. And, this is the one thing I always say, Roger, I want to see in people with it that disagree with me on a point. And it's something that I want to live by as well with it, which is to say, that even if I disagree with the point, as we get more data, as we get more information, you've got to be willing to, move off of your whatever you might think if you have information that's pulling you into that different way. And what have we seen with Sam that they've said over the past couple of years? He's like 21-4 against all of the rest of the NFL, and then 0-3, I think, against the Rams in that same time period. And I'm not big on the seeing ghosts. I'm not big on he'll always just revert to being Sam Darnold. I think those things are really kind of tired and all that. But I do think that there's definitely something potentially to Roger, this Rams team having his number, Shula having his number. This is a thing that you do see with teams where there's just sometimes a bad matchup, this bad personnel against our offense, and then just a bad looks on the back end for our quarterback to this defensive coordinator. And when you do have 3 games now, we are moving Roger into a place that's a little bit outside of sample size. I think last year that all 3 of those games, there were kind of different things going on at times that caused the result. The first game, Rams offense going well. Once Darisaw went down, they couldn't find any footing on that one at all. And then the second game, the offensive line was decimated at that point. I thought we had a little bit better protection from the other 2 games in this one for Sam, and this one, even though we did have the 20 pressures, so it was still there consistently. But I like you said, it could be just that the Rams defense gives him problems. The defense plus the combination of the exact personnel with this defense just is not one where, he sees it well. I was, you remember on the roundtable I was speaking about earlier on this season, Roger, I know Kyler has lost his job and there's been other performances that were not as good, but I did really always feel like too, Mike McDonald knew exactly how to play Kyler Murray and how to put him into the bind, and was just this Seattle defense, the way we play, particularly against Kyler, is a really tough matchup for him to have to deal with. So I think that you're not off on this necessarily. And though I don't think it's the case, because all 3 of these games, there's been sort of, to me, 3 sort of separate things kind of going on in all 3. There's not necessarily been just one strain of what happened there with Darnold that sort of caused the losses. But I will absolutely give some rope to you on this one to say the possibility absolutely exists, and there is data in this for someone to say to have the standpoint you have and to say that this is where I'm seeing it being at, and that you might be seeing it true on that very well, that the Rams may have his number, especially for the season. And maybe we just need at this point Roger Shula to get the head coaching job this offseason, and then all of this can be alleviated. Roger, thank you for another $5 donation. Man, thank you for the double donation, bro. I appreciate you for that. As I said earlier, all the Ram fans comes in have been super, super kind, super generous, and super cool. Also, not enough characters to have a full in-depth breakdown of what I saw in one super chat. And I kind of get what you're saying to the, and Jake was kind of wondering this too on the chat. And that's the one where I think that's the fair point of wonder with Sam on this. I think him turning into a pumpkin, it's not going to happen. Him reverting to Jet Sam, that's not going to happen. But the Rams maybe having his number, that scheme giving him fits, the personnel fit with the scheme, giving him problems. There might be something to that with it. I think if I can get to the place from that perspective, Roger, to it, I guess the convinced front, certainly having another performance like that gets you to the place of like, okay, it's a real thing. I think also maybe having, the scheme helping a little bit more to his end of it, staying more consistently with the run game, having some more answers short. Something you saw with the Niner team and how they played this Rams team twice this year is that they really did provide a blueprint for how to attack the Ram defense. Short precision passing attack, get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quick. You should be able to find some space within the defense if you can stay committed to that. You're going to have to run some slow moving drives, but that's the pathway and approach. Felt like we were trying to kind of cheat things a little bit in this one in our play calling times, Roger, where we're trying to hit too much down the field with too much depth, too many long developing routes, just heading into so many guys in coverage on your guys' end of it. Roger with another $10 donation. Roger dropping triple. Let's go. I know the seeing ghost. I know the seeing ghost joke was lazy, to be honest. But besides you and your chat, I saw a lot of S talking from some Hawk fans, so I had to rub it in. I can. It's saying. I think you're saying it jokingly to say it, and no, I get it. Look, you gotta. This is football. You know what I mean. You get confident going into it. You feel like it's your time to go, and you lose the game. That's part of the fandom of it. Is you get to celebrate it. You know, you don't have to just sit there and kind of silently, fist pump. And it was all awesome last night. I walked in, I was going to that last night, definitely feeling like, as I tweeted out, that I'm going to be walking the Lions Den tonight. Not as much because of you guys in the chat with the Roger, as much as because of the I knew that there's a couple guys on that round table that were going to let me have it about the Sam thing, and that they're going to jump at the opportunity right there. So that was as much as anything. But no, I know we definitely have our share of people that get to feeling themselves, especially as this year has gone along, and that they feel like we're primed and ready and right to kind of take you guys down with it. And I'm sure with a lot of Hawk fans too, as I feel like coming out of this game, we played such a good football game, a game where we absolutely played well enough to win. And then it comes down to this one controllable part of the game that you let outside of your grip a little bit. And that definitely frustrates. But no, joking around saying Sam to go, that's one thing. I think beyond what you're saying with it, it's just that there are people that still will say that and they mean it, where it's like, yeah, that's what it is. He still has that seeing, and like, well, that's not what we're seeing from the guy. It's not that he's seeing ghosts. He's got problems in the game right now. There's things from this game, these interceptions, that need to be cleaned up and fixed, that are things within his control to fix. It ain't like he just got hammered from the blind side and what is he to do? But it is just that you don't mean it when you say it, but people will mean it when they say it. And that's where it's like, go to the actual tangible points of criticism, like, don't play hero ball, which is completely the opposite of seeing ghosts. If you're seeing ghosts, you're not playing hero ball. You're giving up on plays, you're throwing things away, you're crumpling up into a mound, which is not what Sam's doing right now. He's doing much more of the trying to do too much to the other side of it, which to me is the much fairer point of criticism. And the point, by the way, Roger, he's got to fix. That's the spot where it's like, you've got to correct that. Roger coming with another $5, man. You're too very, very kind, brother. Very, very kind. Thank you for all of the donations today. I salute you, sir. I do think Sam didn't want to get sacked like the past times and forced throws that weren't there. Well, I think he's forcing stuff. So we're in agreement there. So, there is a forcing stuff there. Again, with this, I think it's a nuanced take here with it, when you get down to this kind of stuff. So does he need to take a sack on a play like this, Roger? There's instantaneous pressure on him. Yeah. Is he getting rid of this because he's going to avoid a hit here? Because if you're seeing ghosts and you're getting to get rid of the ball, or you're just trying to throw it away, sort of because you think you're going to avoid a hit here. And he's stepping up into this throw. He's taking the hit. And there's been a lot of these throws that we've seen from him throughout this year that have been the case, where if he's playing scared, if he's playing frightened, he's not making these kind of throws. Trying to see if I can bring up a couple others here. This one here. So again, on this, just to Roger give you a couple cut ups with this. Here's against the Steelers. Step in the pocket, pressure mounting from all around him. Guys all up on his face here. Smack right in the chops. Lays it out, puts it there. He's got to stand tall here for this crosser to develop, Roger, and get to the spot. Boom. When we're looking at this, it's like this play I was showing on this one, Roger. This is also where the play calling comes back into play. You got two guys, Roger, here chipping out at the edge. So you take two guys out of routes right here for Sam right out the rip. Then you're running these three routes to depth beyond that. And then you look at your Rams team there, that defensively 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys for the Seattle Seahawks, 3 wide receivers on the depth. So Sam tries to fit this ball into the only place he's got because he doesn't have an outlet. He doesn't have a guy he can throw it to as far as any kind of like security. He's got to try to throw this ball in. Real tight space with a lot of bodies down there. So it's like, your Rams do this. They rush 4. You rush 4 like you guys did here. You drop to depth, right there, Roger? So it's like, why play call wise are we throwing into 7 guys into coverage, especially when we only got 3 running routes? It's not like we're running your kind of Rams route concepts. We're running flood zone and we're running the first guy out in the zone and then running another guy behind him. That's not what's happening at all. So there's just, and I kind of went through a ton of the cut. I went through a good about 5 or 6 of the cuts showing this beyond the interceptions in this game, Roger, where you walked into this with the play calling where you're sort of saying we think you guys are going to, run blitz against us a lot, or you're going to, you're going to look to like tighten coverages up and run shorter coverages on us. I mean, here's another play, Roger, where this is a play we completed that I was showing earlier. And look where he's throwing this to Horton. As you look at this play, Roger, look at where you're throwing this to Horton. You got 4 bodies down there all around him. You're throwing into the sea of hands down at the bottom of the screen here into Horton. And you'll notice you got Jackson Smith, Varner, and Kupp all kind of in the same place. Everybody running to pretty good depth on the route. Everybody 10 yards down the field with no short options whatsoever to be had. It's all over the tape there, Roger, on this. So it's like, yep, Sam's got to play better. You ain't letting him off the hook. He can't make those kind of major mistakes. He's got to know that when you got a bad situation like you talk about on this, where you've got a sack in front of you. I think that didn't want to get sacked. I think that that's where we have the question in our mind, where you go, he doesn't want to get sacked because he doesn't see goes, or he's not wanting to get sacked, or he's trying to make a play. Because there's 2 different ways you avoid a sack. There is the guys that avoid the sack who are scared of taking the hit and don't want to take the hit, and so they're going to just try to get away from it. Kyler Murray does this a lot. And then there are those guys that aren't taking the sack because they don't want the play result, because they're trying to find a positive from the play. When I look at Sam's game, when I look at how I played your Rams this past Sunday, I see a guy that's trying to do too much, not a guy that's necessarily trying to avoid being hit. And I think that's an important line of delineation on this one. Thank you, though, for all of your donations, Roger. You were awesome, bro. Appreciate you. Jeffrey the Soul coming with a $20 donation. Jeffrey says, after much reflection, after 4 interceptions after 4 interceptions and 1 godly a punt away from beating the second best team in the NFC, I find this loss acceptable in the way it happened. Still need that signature win against a true contender. I love it, Jeffrey. I love it indeed. And you do need to, I think we do need to take that stock of this team a little bit to know that you went on the road against this Rams team. You held Stafford to 130 yards passing. You, outside of a couple of runs they were able to bust off, able to clean up that and keep the run game held down. You play great special teams. That's still a part that we weren't able to expose as much of the Rams, and they did a great job on that 1 punt. I mean, geez, that punt, if that goes into the end zone and you get that at the 20-yard line, Sam probably drives you up there and goes and gets that field goal for the win. And it speaks to that your team is getting better. This progress is being made. We've wondered when this next step is going to take, and you're right about it. Until we can go and take down one of these contenders, until we can actually show we can do it, it still will remain a question, and a valid question to be asked at that. Because it's not just been one that's been here this year. It's been for the past couple of years something that's been missing on this team that you point to and you go, we got to get a win against one of these really quality teams. It's last year losing against the Vikings and the Sam Darnold at home, and losing against the Packers at home, and not able to take down the Lions. And past couple of years, the same sort of thing would break down. And so you need to find a way here. You have the Colts, you have the Rams set up on the schedule. 49ers, I don't think are going to be anywhere near at full strength when you play them on the road at the end of the season. They're not going to be easy. They've shown that. The zombie 49ers are going to hang in there. But I can't come away from this game discouraged like this. I don't think Sam Darnold's broken beyond all repair. I don't think the Rams have his number. I think he chose the worst of times to play his worst games. But I think that the issues are correctable in what he did. And I think that you did show across the board on this team when you remove that quarterback position that you were better than the Rams across the board in just about every other way. So now we just need to take this home in a couple weeks and find this continued progress, continue to take these steps, continue to learn, continue to grow with a new offensive coordinator, with the new offensive coordinator, with the first year quarterback here on this team working together, figuring that stuff out, meaning that you would think guys like that would need a little bit of this time to get all of the details and kinks ironed out of things. That maybe they're not always going to be on completely all the same page from the jump or halfway into a season as they will be as you get into the depths of the season, or say nothing of having actually a second year of working with the guy. So love the optimism, Jeffrey. I love it absolutely, and I believe the same way with it, man. We do need to still get that signature win, but I think we can still come out of this feeling pretty encouraged, and not forgetting that this is still a team now second place, 7-3, everything set up on the schedule to not only go out there and make the playoffs, but go make some noise in the playoffs. Roger Morales also becoming a member of the channel. Roger, awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. You're very kind. Welcome membership, brother. And we'll be doing get back on and do probably the Thursday night stream here tomorrow. So do please be on the lookout for just members of the channel as we get it cooked up over there. But Roger, you're very kind, man. Very, very kind. Salute to you and your wife. Appreciate you, man. And best of luck to you guys the rest of this year. You got a hell of a team. I hope that part doesn't get lost within this. As you guys won that game, no excuses given. I'm looking for Sam to play better, but you guys took the win at the end of Sunday. I think that sometimes can get lost in a lot of the Sam talk, is that, well, we played better here. Well, we seem to be the better team this, well, we seem that. At the end of the day, you lost. At the end of the day, your Rams find a way to win every single week, 8-2. You've had the toughest schedule in this division at this point. You got the toughest schedule kind of down the line, I think, finishing up this season with the final slate. You guys have earned what you've gotten. You've earned where you've been. You've earned what record you've kind of bore out. It's not been like sometimes with the Eagles, as we watch them and we sort of feel like something's going to run and hit ahead with that team at some point or another. That's not the way I feel with the Rams. And the scariest part of the Rams is still don't feel like necessarily they've played their best ball yet. Still feel like a team that is coming together. Dan says, I don't like hearing Hawk fans saying we were clearly the better team. I get it. I get in a little bit of metrics, but the turnover batter is a crucial metric too. I don't want to lean too heavy on moral victories. Yeah, no moral victories. I wouldn't want to put it to that either. You got to win the turnover battle in tight games against good teams. It's a necessity, to your point. Femi, can the Titans handle our pass rush? Yes. Was doing some research last night on the Titans. Probably not. They're 26th overall in pressure rate. They're 26th overall in pressure rate. They're 29th in time to throw. Cam Ward's holding onto the ball a lot, 2.93 seconds. They're 28th in having a low blitz rate against them. So teams aren't blitzing them, but they're getting pressure. So, no, I don't think they're going to be able to handle it. Misfit says this is the first game this season I'm calling a blowout. I am too, Misfit. And I think that you're going to walk them. This is one where you go, yo. Another 30-pointer, Misfit, before halftime. I'll take that. Crashy says we double Simmons all game. We're fine. That's the pathway to go. Devondre Sweat ain't bad next to him, Crashy. He's become pretty good too. But not a bad idea to double Simmons. Alberto says also, when the Rams made the trade with the Falcons, I had a feeling it would possibly turn out very good for us, but never expected the current scenario, and hopefully it gets even better. I'll tell you, I knew Alberto. I saw the Rams go into that. They went into the jewelry shop and they came out with they bashed old school 80s style Alberto. You know, they went with hammers and they bashed all the windows and they grabbed all the necklaces and all the rubies and all the gems. And the Falcons just sat there and were like, maybe we should got a gun. Maybe we should gotten some protection. Oh, I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming, Alberto. I knew it was coming. I got video proof of it too. I couldn't believe the Falcons did it. I couldn't believe it. And man, if you guys end up getting a blue chip player, I'm going to just. Dorian says, I knew the second the Falcons traded their first round pick, they'd S the bed the following season and give the Rams a top 10 pick. I knew too. You just knew it was coming. Oh man, did you? That's like death, taxes, and the Falcons are going to give them a top 10 first round pick. 3 certainties in life. Yeah, Zabel Colts game would be about what I'd expect to. You hold them out for the Colts Rams game, essentially, Martin. Patrick Hines says, someone in the roundtable asked a good question. Why don't linemen just wear braces all the time? A little protection from side pressure. Yeah, it would provide that. I think that it's as much that it's clunky and doesn't feel very smooth. You know, it's a little bit old school, like wearing the old cups in football. You know, you're wearing them in baseball. When you didn't wear a cup, you could certainly move around a lot better. I mean, it was restricted especially those old school cups were real big and bulky. You know, like that thing would like rub on the inside of your thighs. And it was a lot. So I think they would probably say the same thing. It gets annoying. Gets annoying having to wear it, I guess, would be my guess. It would help them though. I know in college, Patrick, they do some programs make it a mandatory in college that you have to wear it. Like Oregon does that. This was Calrup's Phantom Hold and the Forbes blatant DPI, like uncalled, were 2 worst ref interferences in the game. Yeah, those were two of the more badder ones. They were letting Forbes get very handsy there with JSN. Yeah, the spoon called penalty was rough too to start the game. Dan Sanse, I think Sam's performance this week will give him fuel for the playoffs. I had a feeling we would lose, but now I have a feeling we'll beat the Rams in the rematches remaining. Let's go. Rematches, plural, Daniel. I see what you did there. Let's go. Gino says, what are the sleeper odds on Gino getting benched? I'm not too sure. Koken, I did hear Mike say K9 would get more opportunities. And I think this makes sense. You've been load balancing throughout the year, and part of load balancing throughout the year is to set him up for the home stretch to where you can utilize him in full, especially in games where you really need him. I think this is a part of that plan of doing that early on in the year and kind of setting that stage up right for a guy like K9 to be able to sort of strike at the right time. Paul says in the playoffs, you got to run to protect the quarterback. Got to stay committed to the run. And I haven't had to say that about Kubiak in many games this year, but this was one where I did feel like I needed to say that in retrospect. Seth says, has there been other teams like this Hawks team, first in turnovers, but also first in efficiency? No, I wouldn't say. I mean, Carroll's teams were going to always value turnovers and protecting against that offensively, which was always going to make sure that wasn't a part of how your offense was going to roll. Maybe the less Russ Cook year a little bit, because you just turnovers and stuff started to come up a little bit that year, I guess, Seth. So that 2000, what was it, the 20, 21, whatever? That's the only one I can think of. Might have been too. You can go maybe mid 80s team, Seth, where you have, Dave Craig would sometimes turn over a good amount, but you'd have some pretty good offenses too. Martin Brendo, do we have any short route scheme during the game? I didn't notice anything for Sam to dink and dunk this way out of trouble. No, it was missing. A lot of the reason it's missing is because you're choosing to chip off the edges, and sometimes you're chipping off the edges on both sides. So to my point on this, that's exactly what's going on right here. Or no, not right here. Sorry. Let me get the right one. So like this is an example of what you see on a lot of the tape. So look at your two tight ends on either side of the formation, right outside of both of the two tackles. Watch what they do. So you essentially are deciding to chip your tight ends to force the defensive ends into the tackles. That's what you're trying to do. Arroyo, awful block by Arroyo. He's taking on Fisk. That's a hard fit for him. But you want him to route him to the inside shoulder of Arroyo, back into Lucas. Same thing with Barner here, where you want to ideally be pushing him back inside, though Cross, for some reason, makes an odd decision to go inside here to the. This play is just miserable from the jump. But the point being is that when you're going to chip like this, especially not just one guy, but two guys are chipping, that's two guys you're taking out of the routes. You've got three guys only running true routes on this play, and all three of the routes are being run to depth, Martin. So coming back to it, you're not giving Sam a lot of options here for what to do with this football. You're not giving him a lot of openings. And yeah, they removed a lot of it, but it was being removed at the expense to try to protect the pass protection, which understandable why you're going to want to chip some of this stuff too, Martin. I don't mind the chipping. Chipping is fine. Chipping is going to be necessary. Hell, you chipped all over the place in this game and you still gave up 20 pressures. But you also then within those chips need to then provide your quarterback some short answers that he can go to when things get a little bit hot. Jason says Sam can fix the interceptions. I don't really see this as a huge problem, but I might be wrong. I see it the same way, Jason. I see it the same way. Beast Mode says it came down to that final punt that had us starting at the 1. We will learn and live another day. I love it, man. Amen. Paper freezing. I don't know why Sam even said that. That meme will follow him every mistake. Yes, it will. Paul says we got 4 games we need to win going forward. The Rams, the Colts, the Niners, and the Vikings. I like it, man. We can do this, Paul. We can go on a run. Martin says we also need Kubiak to adjust the play calls to take advantage of the light box and deep coverage, like adding a short route, more run plays. That didn't happen. Amen. Just what I'm saying. I think the Jags record was 3-1 when they faced us, maybe 3-2 or something like that. Yeah, I don't think the Chargers are going to be good this year either. They lost their 2 most important pieces on that offense outside of Herbert with those tackles. One second here. Redeemed Patriot. It was a big game, and Sam was just pressing too hard to move the ball instead of relaxing and take what the defense gives, including a sack if nothing there. Beautifully put, Redeemed Patriot. Beautifully put. Kevin says, I don't like people not holding Kubiak and McDonald more responsible for that horrendous clock management. Could have been better. Redeem Patriot, blowout possible, but can't overlook anyone. Agreed. Hopefully the team comes in ready to play on this one. kind of hoping that with it being a loss off this Rams game, that you come out sort of swinging and wanting to get right quick, sort of pissed off for greatness kind of thing, you know? Kevin says, Jake is the best Rams fan I've ever seen. He's awesome. Nathan says, I told my wife I don't want the Falcons to win in the playoffs and in the regular season. Same way I don't want to win Rams game and then in the playoffs, I will give them another win in the RS. Rampazzi says, why would we hold Zabel out 3 games when Mike Mack said he's day-to-day? I'm all for resting this week, but it's okay next week. Let's let him build reps. Well, Mike also said when he said day-to-day, but that can mean a lot of things. He said that can be this week, that can be a couple of weeks. So he even kind of pre-baked this one in when he mentioned that. It's all just about, and this is the information around Ponzi where we don't know really what the reality is of the injury. Is the question they always ask is this thing going to be, if we're looking to get him back by this point, if we give him this amount of rest, is that going to be beneficial to him as far as the recovery process and allowing him to feel better and to be able to play at his best? If it doesn't make a difference and you're like, look, he's going to be feeling about the same way next week as he's going to be feeling 4 weeks down the line, he's probably going to need the off season to get this thing really fully recovered. Well, he'll feel great. He can play on it though. Well, then you go, okay, I'm open to him playing. You know, we'll just roll with it. So it all depends on kind of where the injury line is on that. And it's a lot of conjecture. They were very chaffy. Those cups were very chaffy, is all I'm saying. And I had some pretty good sized thighs back in those days, and you know what I mean. There was a lot of rubbing. There's a lot of uncomfortable rubbing going on there. A lot of math where you start to go, would it really hurt that bad versus this subtle pain? John says, I didn't wear a cup in baseball until they put me in a catcher and the ball took a crazy bounce from that day forward. I wore a cup. If you're catching, you got to wear a cup. You got to. But I will say this, Sean, I stopped out in the field. I stopped as well. It's like, no, I'm done with that. It was awful. And those old school cups were just, those things were Cadillacs, man. Those were like Iron Man cod pieces or something, you know? It's like, what is going on here? Scott here 5 minutes ago, but didn't want to watch the show where McVay essentially said we've benefited a lot of bad football teams. I hate that cocky MFer. Gokin says, Brando, I made a sleeper account, use your code, made a picks, but it says it's not available in New York, neither in Washington State. I'm sorry about that, man. I was told it was supposed to open up there, so I'll have to check and see what's going on. Thank you for using the code. But yeah, I was told it was supposed to open up. That sucks. Sorry about that. What's going on with Horton? He's honestly our second best receiver. Better than Cup. How is he injured? He's got an ankle thing going on. They're dealing with shin, I think. He's been a little bit, I think, banged up this year, so they're just trying to be protective with him. Blue and Green Zone just got tickets for the Seahawks game, midfield for $75. Can't wait. Never been to another stadium besides Quest Field. My green hair is going to be a flying. Let's go, Blue and Green. Congrats, man. It'll be fun. It's going to be fun. Brian Myers, Jerry Rice's son on the practice squad, and they worked out Hendon Hooker. Yikes. Interesting. Why they're working out Hendon Hooker. A lot of Hawk fans like themselves some Hendon. Brian says, yeah, Washington State will allow sleeper once they found a way to tax the hell out of it and throw a bone to the tribal casinos. Oh, well, that makes sense. Washington's hard-lined on this one, though. My goodness. Blue and Green, I hope we have Seahawks chance in Tennessee. I'm going to be screaming. I've heard at least one person in my chat today is also going to the Tennessee game, and boy, you can't deny Blue Green. There's you got to be a diehard Titan fans at this point at 1-9 to go back in that stadium this week. You got to be all in on the process. So really good chance. I think we're going to have a lot of Hawk fans in that stadium. And I'm okay with the flyer on Brendan Rice's son too. Wasn't bad tape coming out of college. He was really a guy that, this is a little bit like what you have to a larger degree of what you see with like a guy like Marvin Harrison in the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, where Harrison's an on-script, on-time kind of player. And then he gets paired with a guy like Kyler that's all about off-script, off-time, that type of stuff. And it's not a good matching between the two. And whereas with Brandon's that way at USC with Caleb, where very, very good route runner on time and all that, but Caleb wasn't really like trying to play the quarterback position even at USC that way. And so it wasn't as much a really good fit for Brendan, but he's got some skill. He's got some acumen for it. For a practice squad situation, that ain't tough. Ain't tough at all. Oh, we got Bryce in the house. What's up, Bryce? Bryce coming in with a $50 donation from our guy Bryce Coots at the Hawks Eye. Folks, do me a favor if you haven't already. Please do. I work with Bryce quite a bit. Do get over there and sub on up to the Hawks Eye. He had to kind of reset his channel a little bit this offseason and getting everything kind of set back up over there from the Hawks Zone. But please do get subbed up over to Bryce. We do the Seahawks Syndicate with him, and he's doing some great work over there at the Hawks Eye and his coverage. Thank you, man, for the big old monster dono, bro. I really appreciate it. Hi, Brandon. What do you think about the potential increase in touches for K9? Great work, man. Well, I maybe at times can apply a little bit of perceived brilliance to the coaching staff and their approach, but I also think that this is one where this is the new standard in the NFL. And for years, the new standard or the old standard was that you had your bell cow. Yes, you'd want to have depth at the running back position and you'd find touches for that depth, but you were going to count on being up around probably 300 touches for that running back as you got through the course of the season, and that you felt like he needed to be able to handle that. And if he couldn't, that was going to impact whether or not you rolled with a guy that could or could not do that. And I think the new model has been now with multiple Thursday night games, with the 17th game of the schedule. I think teams have taken more of the approach now of we have to manage the carries of our back now. And that old standard of 20 now becomes like 13 to 15. And with Walker, I think that this became even more of a case, Bryce, where it wasn't just the standard you're leaning into that's the new model. It's also the fact that this guy had been injured every single year he's been here. He was injured multiple times this offseason. And then you got around to the point of that is saying, okay, we've got to protect him a little bit extra beyond that. So I thought a lot of the approach this year was people thought it was hot hand. I don't know if it was always the hot hand that you're doing. I think it was that we're going to divvy these guys' carries up fairly closely to 50-50. We'll have a guy like Walker will get more as far as touches go with, running the ball, and then Charbonnet will theoretically get more in catching. I know Walker's got 14 catches to the 9 in Charbonnet. Part of that's just that you're doing so much chipping, Bryce. These guys aren't running very many routes out of the backfield. But now you've gotten into the stage of the season where you're past halfway through. You've managed that carry burden. And now you start to feel like, okay, for a guy remembering with this Bryce that's going to be a free agent who we're probably not counting on signing to a contract here, use him while you've got him. And you don't use him while you got him early in the year and then have him broken by the end of the year where you don't have him to call upon. Use him now as you've got him theoretically pretty fresh, pretty ready to go. He's got 136. God, he's got 136 carries here so far this year. So he's well below that 300 threshold here, well past halfway into it. You're going to end up with probably about 230, 240 touches. So I like it, man. Charbonnet at the end of the day is averaging 3.3 yards per carry. And there's a big difference between these two guys and what one can get done versus the other. And Sharps has had a lot of run now. He's over 100 touches this year. He's got 31 less touches than Walker, who's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. I think I'm all for the balance thing, but there is a point that this gets to on the discrepancy between the two of them in effectiveness. And Walker just gives you an extra gear in the effectiveness than what you get from Charbonnet. And just, it kind of is what it is at this point, I think. I just, Charbonnet is unfortunately a guy that, probably is not a guy you should have taken into the second round when it's all said and done. Probably a little bit too high to be grabbing him there. Probably more of why you want to stay under the third round and onwards for running backs, because it's very hard to find the difference-making component that'll make it worthwhile, especially going back-to-back in the second round like the Hawks did. John's got a lot of stuff right. I don't know if he looks back at those particular 2 picks in his direction with those 2 picks and goes, "Yeah, that was the right decision making there." But I think, yeah, he certainly has earned enough at this point to where you got to roll with them, and you're this running the sake of running Charbonnet at 3 yards a carry, just almost a yard point 2 difference between the two. And there's extra analytical stats that'll point to you and show you that Walker's one of the higher graded running backs in the league by PFF. I mean, that right there should be another indicator to say, probably need to get this guy some more touches, probably need to start to ramp this guy up. And you're getting down the home stretch of the season where there's nothing left to protect, really. He's going to get battered up in week 16 after you've protected him through most of this year. That's kind of then at that point, you just go, well, that's part of the reason that we're having to let you walk. Is it's not just that, we could not get the most out of you in your time here, but because you couldn't stay healthy as well. So kind of get to that point where the rubber meets the road on the Walker situation here. I completely support their approach to it this year so far. You heard Bryce in this game with Rams fans and how much they were really frustrated and have been frustrated throughout the course of this year with how often the Rams go to Blake Corum and give him so many carries in a football game. But the Rams are trying to do the same thing with Blake Corum that we're trying to do with Walker to Kyron. And that just protect him, keep his touches down, and make sure that by the time you get to the playoffs, he's fresh and he can be at his best. And that's where I do come down to this being kind of a league-wide thing that you see as a trend. I can feel it in the Eagles in their use of going from, Saquon over to Tank, Bigsley, whatever his name is, over to Tank and running with him as a number 2 at times, even though they haven't given a lot of touches to Saquon, where they're trying to manage him in the same way. I think it's the new model. It's why running back rooms now need to be built more upon the assembly of talent more than they need to be on the true bell cow. It's why offensive lines, the analytic folks that talk about, Bryce, this being the most important thing, and that you need to understand that it's scheme, it's play calling, it's an offensive line talent and ability that will drive a running game more than it is that you have the souped up running back who's Barry Sanders reborn. Everybody wants Barry Sanders reborn. No, don't get me wrong, but that's not what in the modern age makes a modern day running game really go. So I'm great with it. I think he's earned the right to get a little bit more touches here. You protected him. He's fresh. He's the better back. He's been more effective. He gives you home run hitting potential that you do not have with Charbonnet at all. And I think it's a good move, man. But thank you for the big donation. Thank you for the kind words. And again, folks, please do the Hawks Eye with Bryce Coots here on YouTube. One of the folks I work with here on this in this hemisphere, and he does great work. Had to restart the channel a little bit there, so please do show him some love. Give him a quick little sub over there on that side of it. It is free. Don't cost you anything. We're going to be having Bryce back here onto the channel, no doubt about it, very soon as well. Dan's going to be in Tennessee. We got Dan in the house in Tennessee too. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Blue and green zone. It's crazy how Charbonnet show flashes, then barely gets 2 to 3 yards, and K9 is finally looking like he sees the holes and hitting them instead of freaking out and bouncing out. Indeed. K9 got downhill a little bit more effectively this past game. Not to mention he was pretty good out of the backfield in addition to that. And yeah, I think some of this just comes down to the run blocking not always being the best out there for Sharps. I think he certainly deals with some of that. He just has some games though where I think a Walker can get you out of trouble at times in the backfield if it's not blocked up well. I don't think Charbonnet can do that. And it just allows him that ability to get around some of this stuff. But there's just a difference between the two. And Charbonnet's not a bad back. He's an NFL back. He's going to play in the sport for a while. He's got a place. He's a good third down guy. He's a pretty good blocker in third down situations as that guy. It's just that I would also say he's not particularly really dynamic. He's not a great tackle breaker. He's more of a run finisher than he's a tackle breaker. Ryan, he says, yeah, just ask Vegas who picked Genty in the first and then didn't build an offense around him. Yeah, you could see that mistake coming a while away with the Vegas Raiders and Genty. And you knew what was going on with Carroll to want that pick so badly because he saw in Genty a guy that could be his Marshawn Lynch. And, the problem there is that you took Marshawn Lynch after you had already had Russell Okung and Breno Giacomini and Max Unger there and James Carpenter. These pieces were all in place already when you made the trade for Marshawn. Genty didn't have that to fall back on. Alberto's is also next year. We play our home opener in Australia. Rams versus Seahawks wearing throwback jerseys would be awesome. That would be awesome. My main mod now is here, Megan Alberto. She's from Australia, so she's trying to sell me on flying down there for the opening game, which would be pretty crazy. But maybe she'll talk me into it on this one. Paul says, Brandon, who are the top O lines? Let's go take a look. Let's look it up. Obviously, this is going to be using the old PFF, which people may or may not like, but I don't care. We're using it nonetheless. Let's take a look and see here. Run blocking. Your best offensive line run blockers are going to be the Rams, the Colts, the Niners, the Lions, the Bears, the Bills, and the Panthers. Kind of interesting. If you look at this, by the way, is, notice the fact that, as you look at this, you got to get down to the Cowboys at 8 to find a team that's below 500 with a well-graded run blocking unit. And then you get Eagles at 8-2, Ravens at 5-5, Falcons 3-7, Jacksonville 6-4. But if you look at the top 15 teams at run blocking in the sport, you've got 1, 2, 3 of the top 15 that are below 500. And most of the ones that are below 500, the 2 of them are just barely below 500 at that. Pass blocking wise, you got the Broncos, Colts, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Bears. So these teams at the top, we also saw were good run blocking teams in addition to that. This one isn't, the data is clear where your top 15, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in the top 15 with less than a 500 record. But still, the general vibe here is that if you build a good offensive line here, those teams that were both well graded as far as run blocking and pass blocking, Denver Broncos winning record, Colts winning record, Buffalo Bills winning record. You notice your Chiefs, not a team that's there in that run blocking side of it. Eagles did well in the run blocking. They've got a good record. Chicago did well in the run blocking. They've got a good record. So build a great offensive line. You're going to build a team that can make some noise. It's good. It's a good helper to getting you to being a winning football team. Allen is the only statue we need. We'll agree. No lines way better than last year. We also better play calling and a new offensive coordinator who can develop linemen. Agreed. It is improved for sure. Had to tease Price for a sec. Packers are a head scratcher, blue and green. You thought they were going to be better here, and it's been just a struggle for them. Not struggle, but I don't think it's been as good as people thought, especially with the Micah trade and where he'd taken them. But they are still 6-3-1, so they've got time still to kind of potentially rectify this a little bit. I think they are going to be down Josh Jacobs. He had an injury. He went down, so see where they're at team-wise. Alberto, Brandon, if you could choose which team to play against in the wild card round, who would it be? Personally, for me, anyone except the Niners. I don't think I can relieve the NFC title game back in 2022. Let's take a look here, man. I mean, let's see where are we at right now? So right now you got the first seeds would be Denver and Philly. Alberto, you'd be playing the Niners today if the season ended, buddy. Sorry, man. Your your greatest fears look like they're locking it in here. It's locking in, and we play the Buccaneers. I would say of the teams right now that we look at that would be in the playoffs today if the season ended, I think that I would take in the pecking order for me. Probably it would go Niners and the Bears. I can understand your worry and concern having played the Niners in the past, and look, that team's played you tough in the first game at least, but you walked all over them in the second game, and they're nowhere near, and they won't be any healthier as we get to the end of the season. Like, they will only probably have lost another body or two by the time you get to the playoffs against them. I think they're going to be running out of gas by the end of the season. Older players like Trent Williams and McCaffrey that's going to have freaking 450 touches on his body by the end of the year. I just don't think they're going to be in a great state to make any kind of noise in the playoffs. I certainly would take them on. That'd be my first team, and then the Bears would be the second team. I feel like you get after them too. So that'd be my 1-2 order. I don't want any part of the Rams. I mean, the Rams would be tough in the playoffs. Green Bay, you don't have to go into Green Bay. We want them definitely getting the wild card. And Tampa Bay's tough. I think Tampa Bay by that point will probably have Mike Evans back, and that could be a big difference for them too. So that'd be my pecking order. HG wants a Bucks Rams rematch. There we go. Wild card, we won't play the Niners. No, we won't. Not if we're in the wild card. If we can get back up on top of the division, we can still have a chance there. Alberto, my father couldn't handle the second half and stayed in the garage. My mother was in the kitchen trying to take her mind off the game. As for me, I was all alone in the living room dying of nervousness. That's being a football fan right there, Alberto, There's no drama like it. There's nothing that can make you more nervous and, not even watching a show, right? You just get wrapped up. You do. It's the wonderful part of the sport. That's for sure. Paul says, go Hawks. Let's run the ball and draft O-line. This is why I hammer it, man. This is why year after year you hear me guys, Paul, become obsessive about it and get mad when we continually don't do the thing I ask us to do, which is make it a point of emphasis. How about we turn the offensive line into one of the strengths of the team? God forbid we do that here in Seattle, huh? I know it's hard. I know it's not easy. I know, John, they're overpaid and overdrafted. I don't care. The data is so succinct about the returns that it gives you when you put the investment into it. It's like a normal stocks you put in and you're like, well, there's, 35% chance this thing will cook up. And I've got this thing saying, no, you got like a 65, 70% chance you did take this route, it will cook up. Why not take that route? And when it comes to finding good quality alignment and targeting in on them, yeah, you got to give up the price. You got to give up the first round pick for Zabel. You got to give up the first round pick for Cross. You got to give up the third round pick for Abraham Lucas. But the dividends are so juicy. So juicy. Wait, Lions miss the playoffs right now? Right now, the Lions would miss the playoffs. That's part of this NFC. It's so good this year. You got a Bears team that's come out of nowhere at 7-3. They're third in that division right now. Part of what's so tough with that call at the end of that game with PI, that was a wrong call that sunk them. Because not just sink you in the division, it sunk you out the playoffs here, where you're on the outside looking in at the moment. And they don't have necessarily a super easy schedule to the Lions down the end of this thing. Albert says, what made it more intense is had we lost the game, Niners would have had the chance to play for the Super Bowl at SoFi. We never hear the end of it. Thank God we won. You guys got it. And I know they got you early in the year. That was just a little freakish, man. It's division games. It's Thursday night football in that first game. It was just a little bit of a weird one because of that. But you get them in the playoffs. You guys face them in the playoffs again. You'll dog walk them once again. They're down Warner. They're down Bosa. Those are huge losses. They already lost guys this offseason. They're down Michael Williams. That's a young defensive line. They're at the point here where they might zombie their way to the playoffs, but they're getting kicked out of the first round. Agreed. Yeah. And Drake Thomas had a great play read and film study. He really recognizes motions and shifts. Smart guy. Great player for us. He's really coming on these past 5-6 weeks. He's been really solid at the very least in every game, if not good. Very impressive. Just HHGB. Excuse me. B, JSN stats Sunday, 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. I like it, man. Oh, man. 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'll take that. That'll take him a long way to staying on that pace to breaking Calvin's record. I'll tell you that. JG says he's going to go off. I like it, man. Let's do it. I'll take it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Alberto, a Super Bowl game in Seattle would be an awesome sight to see. It would be, Alberto. I think it'll be a hard sell in the NFL. Not that it wouldn't be cool to see and a great place to have the event. I think a couple things make it hard. The lack of tailgating would make it, I think, a little tough with how that works in Seattle. Unfortunately, they built the stadiums in such a way that there's just no places to really tailgate. That's not the main problem, though. The main issue, Alberto, would be just the weather. I know in San Francisco kind of gets away with this being able to have the Super Bowl there, and we'll see if it doesn't become problematic for them that their rain ends up becoming a factor. As we have seen that pop up at Super Bowls at times. Though I think that they would be very concerned about the potential of weather being the big factor in the game in a major way, rather than it providing them a neutral site where the weather's not as much at play, or if it's at play, it's kind of minimized. Seattle in the winter, you can get cold, wet, windy, and those effects can be even more enhanced as you get down by the water there where the stadiums are at. I think it'd be a little tough. Not that I wouldn't like to see it, Alberto, don't get me wrong, but I think it would be a little bit tough there. Blue and Green, Brandon, what do you think helped Reek Woolen all of a sudden? I don't know. I mean, I think he's got a great support structure around him trying to get him to where he can go. And that the potential is recognized by a lot of those folks in that building, from coaches to players. And they're understanding him better and better. I think some of it's a motivation factor for Reek too, where he's recognizing that, he's done a lot of hard work here on this rookie contract. And he's had his ups, he's had his downs. But he's now down kind of a home stretch here where if you can lock everything into place here, if you can stay connected in this way, that you have a lot of money to be able to go get made. And that will be, I think, for him, a big part of this that's going to help keep him rolling here a little bit. But hard to say exactly. Maybe he's just matured and the light bulbs finally fully come on, and he's just, recognized the opportunity to play here a bit. Could be that too. These guys are young men coming into the sport. They're still young men that are still kind of growing and maturing. And you never know when that maturity is fully going to, take flight. HG, you losing faith on me, man? You had me sold on the 300 yards. Now you're losing faith on me here. It could happen. You saw him do it to Utah back in college, huh? Rambanzi, I think they're looking to get Shaheed more involved this weekend, get him in some reps, more reps. Every team knows we want to force feed JSN and break that record. It's true. I'd expect that too. Just keep getting him more and more into acclimated. We had the big play down the field. He almost had the big play over the top in the end zone last week. Just Sam puts it a little bit more out there. Yeah, Kevin, I think Reek figuring out he wants a new contract. Yeah, I think a new contract's a heavy motivator. Alberto, do you see the Seahawks being in the NFC West, or do you like them being back in the AFC West? I think I like the NFC West better because it's more of West. We're playing back then. It was a little bit more of you're playing a lot of, you got Kansas City, you've got Denver. Here we get to actually stay on the West Coast where it's San Francisco, Los Angeles, Cardinals. That feels a little bit more like geographically correct to me. So I like that part of it. I certainly liked being AFC West was fun and it was hard fought and we had our rivalries there, Alberto, but it feels like the rivalries have kind of grown here very quickly in the NFC West, and part of it being just because so many teams are so good in this division for so long that it's made it even that much more competitive and fun. But NFC West feels like home now. Martin Brando, how about a 60-yard touchdown for Shaheed, but after he reels in a 45-yard deep throw from Sam Darnold, but only if we're up 3 touchdowns. Hey, sign me up, man, on all accounts. I'll take all of it. I do think we're going to try to work Shaheed in more and more. I think the recognition is spoken above on this, that Rampansy mentions that you're trying to kind of force feed a little bit of JSN at times here, and you get a little bit too hyper locked in on him, and that's to the offense's detriment. So getting more of Shaheed acclimated in this for the better. For the better. All right. Well, we are almost in about 3 hours here, so we'll get the last couple questions in if you have, and then we'll put a bit of a wrap up on this one. I thank everybody watching today. If you can do me the favor and please do hit the like button. It does help out this channel, helps me grow and show and all that good stuff. And of course, I really do appreciate it. I want to thank Bryce Coots and Roger Morales and Jeffrey Thistle and Cal Jewell, Daniel Bailey, O'Dwyer Strike. Thank you for all of the big time donations today. Y'all are very, very, very kind on that front of it. Thank you again to the sponsor show, Being Sleeper. Sounds like we're still having some issues in Washington to use it, but if you're outside Washington, please use my code NEST on the Sleeper app today. Go win yourself some money. Appreciate everybody watching. We got we've got tomorrow the BNB show. Me and Brendan, we're going to be cooking it up, and we will go ahead for members tomorrow. Buffalo, Houston. Yeah, we got a good game tomorrow. We're going to go Thursday night's game tomorrow. So we got Buffalo at Houston. They're favored by 6 in that game, but I'll get the link up tonight for members and patrons of the channel. We'll post there, or we might be doing the call-in show on Saturday too. One of the two, but keep an eye on your community post. If you're a member of the channel, we'll be getting the benefits over there to you guys on that side. Did the PFF scores there on Monday, but if it's either going to be Thursday, we'll be doing the either Thursday football here this week, or we'll be doing a Saturday call-in show here for members of the channel. So please do keep an eye on that on the community post. Do want to put a note out there too. Somebody mentioned this last week, so I want to make sure I'm letting people know about this as well, that we do have right now. I am every week showing up over there on the NFC West Roundtable. It's a separate channel. It's not part of this channel. It's a whole separate channel, the NFC West Roundtable. Just did a show last night. They're on Tuesdays, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Please do get subbed up over on that channel, as we're doing so good over there, folks. Like, we're kicking so much butt over there. Like, the guys were marveling over in the DMs yesterday a little bit about how much the traffic has gone through them. When we did 1,000 subs in a month, we're literally lapping and almost tripling some of these other roundtable shows as far as the viewership and your guys' turnout there. So just salute to you guys for showing up. Thank you for showing up out there. And it's so cool to see, because it does feel a little bit of almost synergistic between all of the fan bases within the division cumulatively coming together for that show and making it what it is. And it's very, very cool to see how much growth we've had there on that one. I'm pushing too, folks. We're going to try to get an event next year for the roundtable out in Seattle for a Seahawks game. That is the goal. Going to try to do it for sure. Alberto, thanks for the live stream. Always enjoy listening to others' perspectives. Absolutely, man. Pumped to you too as well. And again, just to make sure you guys do know, a very, very big shout out to Rams fans all last week, be it doing the behind enemy lines or just the discussion of Rams fans coming to my chat. It's always been this way since I've done the roundtable. The part that I did not expect doing the roundtable is that we'd have so many cool fans from other fan bases come into the chat, and they'd be on the level and beyond that. Hey, let's have some perspectives. Let's bounce some ideas back off of each other. Let's even have disagreements, and it doesn't have to be us getting at each other's throats. That it can be like, hey, we both have a real solid place we're operating from that we think and believe here. Let's test each other's ideas out a little bit. That's what we're trying to do here. And I got to give a lot of props to Rams fans for having that understanding when they come in here of what we're doing and what it's about, and going right along in alignment with it. So big shout out to you guys, because this is what makes this place fun. It's not just us echoing each other's thoughts, but having the different perspectives and the different views, which just give you much more of the fuller perspective, not only on our team, but on the sport and what's going on. That's all we're trying to do here. That's all we're trying to do. Martin, Breno, who would you prefer to stand in at left guard for the next few games? I'd ride with Haynes. Kind of would like to know a little bit more about what we have in Haynes. I maybe he's not the guy. Maybe he's. Maybe, let's find out a little bit more what we have in this guy. Let's see what he is. Kevin says, do you see the Rams being able to go to the Super Bowl with that level of play? I do, Kevin, because I think that they've shown you throughout this year beyond the game they played against us that offense can move, that offense can groove, that offense can be a problem for defenses. Some of this, Kevin, just comes down to how good our defense is for why they looked as bad as they did. Some of it comes down to, Kevin, I think in that second half of them playing it a little bit safe with the lead, with Sam turning the ball over as much as he was to say we don't have to do as much. But I think that they will be able to move the ball in just about anybody. And I think our defense is just that good right now. I think that Mike's getting a pretty solid. I almost feel like Mike's got a bit of a more solid plan of attack against McVay right now than he exactly does against Shanahan. Shanahan still has him, I think, a little bit confused, but I think he's getting a little bit of a better understanding with McVay, how to play him and how to structure a game plan around him. Patrick says, beer 30, boys. See you at the bar. There we go. Alberto, I appreciate it likewise, although I don't mind the Seahawks. The 49ers are a completely different story. They are a different story, man. That is true. And their fans have been cool too, but the Niners are always a different story. Appreciate you. Baron hearing Josh Jones's name a lot as a for left guard. He's played guard in the past, so it's always a possibility, but I think that they go with Haynes. Just at least to find out. Sean McVay always finds a scheme to game plan for him. He's a smart guy. He'll find answers too. So it's going to be another challenge in a couple of weeks. I don't think we're going to just necessarily hold the Rams to 130 yards passing into that game in a couple of weeks. It's going to take probably a little more than that. So it's going to be a fun matchup. And it's good to see from my fellow 12s out there that there's really a little bit more encouragement, I think, than discouragement coming off this loss. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to go out there and take this next step. Everybody wants to make a statement to the NFL that we are a contender. We're here. We're ready to make some noise. That time is coming. And I think it's going to happen this season. And I think this team is going to get in the playoffs. And I think anything can happen once you get in the playoffs. But it's a process getting here. It's a growing process. We're not in our final form as a team. The defense continues to get better and better and better. Your health's in a pretty good state. A lot to feel encouraged about down the home stretch of the season. A lot of winnable games and a couple of tests to see if you can measure yourself up at that time, to see if you can grow as a team and get to that spot to take that final step. And make no mistake, it is a final step to finally reaching into that contending status, to finally being one of those elite teams in the NFL that is truly ready to go out there and make some noise in the playoffs. You're built for it. You seem ready for it. We just need now to finally see that last little step taken. I thank you guys for watching today. If you can do me a favor, hit that like button, sub on up, utilize that Sleeper app code of NEST if you get a chance. Have them match up to 100% of your first deposit. Really appreciate you guys watching today. We will be back at 12 o'clock tomorrow with the B&B show to preview this Titans matchup and get into some of the numbers and the interesting numbers at play in this one, which, spoiler alert, are set up well for the Seattle Seahawks to go out and make a lot of headway in this game and make a lot of headway really fast. So going to be looking forward to that, talking this over with Brendan, getting his perspective on this past game. But until then, please don't you ever forget. Don't you dare forget. Even in a loss, don't you dare. Even when Sam starts to look like a reversion of Sam, don't think he's reverting. Keep the faith, myself, fellow Seahawks faithful. We're making progress. We are moving forward here. This team is absolutely tracking in the right direction, and you may not have to wait the year. We still got almost a little less than a half season left for this team to develop into that final state of what they're going to become, to maybe reach their final best form and be able to make noise at the right time as they're playing their best football. Wouldn't that be the most amazing thing? So please do keep the faith, hang on in there, and never forget, don't you dare. Go Hawks.